Hello, everyone. I just want to remind you, you're still muted.
All right, let's see. We're ready to go. You are.
There you go.
All set.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We're calling this meeting of the Kingston Common Council Finance Committee order at 6:38 or so. You looking at that clock?
So, I'll look at it.
Yeah, it's bad enough now that we have to stay these nights. I have to look at that and it's still in our head, right? All right, so planning. Sue, are you here?
I'm here.
Are you ready?
You got a secret? Yeah.
Everybody's done this before, right?
Couldn't do two.
Members of council? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to explain about the variance sheets on the letter. Variance sheets. Ready to know what they are?
Do you have this? I had this. So I think just there. Can I know where's your office?
So these came out today
This one there.
via the internet
Yes.
or email. All right. Is there anything big you want to tell us about, Sue, before we ask questions?
Well, there are 4 separate budgets. One covers the historian, one covers the historic landmark preservation mission of the historic properties.
Mhm.
One is the shade tree account, which is our tree commission and our urban character, and the other is the planning budget. The easiest one, probably the historian account. It's pretty simple, 2 lines. One is for dues, seminars and association fees. So far today, it's about 35% expended. I do anticipate Taylor generally at the end of the year, November, December, will submit for reimbursement of expenses that he has for the course of over the course of the full year.
Before Christmas gifts.
Taylor Brock.
Before Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other line is just his contractual.
Mhm.
That's, and I don't know if anybody has any questions on that one.
And Taylor Taylor works for Ulster County.
Taylor's, yes, he's the clerk, but he's also the city historian.
Oh,
he's
okay.
He took over for Ed Ford.
Okay.
We're 2 hats.
Putting
2 public.
And will he stay our historian now that he's
Yes.
no longer he acting as objective?
Yes.
Okay, great.
There's no conflict.
Okay.
And Ethan is listed here.
Ethan is the historic preservation administrator. He is our staff person in our primarily for landmarks and landmarks related grants.
Got it.
Activities. Yep. It's a separate account. We can do that is next on your budget outline here, 7520.
Yep.
That is the historical properties. That also includes expenses that are incurred covering the Uptown Firehouse, which is the Firemen's Museum, and the Lighthouse, which are city-owned properties both on the National Register of Historic Places. So those properties are also, any expenses incurred are through this.
So there are 2 expenses there that went up and down. Consultants for 11, revised budget for last year, 30,000 and 5,000 this year, which is what it was before.
That was a grant.
Okay, so that was a grant. Is that the same thing under 442? Is that the Firemen's Museum grant that we had for refurbishing part of it? Because there's the 30,000 requested, but then that got knocked back down to 6,000.
Yes, well, I had requested 30,000 there. The Fireman's Museum, has a lead water service. And so I had put in, a value there to replace the lead water service. We are choosing to look for grants. So hopefully we're going to find either a foundation or, another type of grant that will help us cover those expenses. I was also advised that the water department has a large grant that they are looking at for multiple locations to do that. So we might fold it into that as well. So it was taken out, and then just a 6,000, which is an amount that we keep. We had to replace the alarm system this last year because that was no longer even able to be repaired because it was so old. So we replaced the alarm system, which has all the water sensors and heat sensors as well. We are looking at probably some small window jobs potentially. So that's just for some smaller work elements. We have a MOU with the Fireman's Museum Board. They maintain they maintain the firehouse for us. And anything up to $5,000, they will cover if it's a repair or cost. But we work with them hand in hand.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions about the historical property about section 7520? This is page 60 in the budget book. Any other questions about it? Okay.
Actually, just things that, I don't think we're gonna have raises across the board, right? Here, because I see that there's a big raise in the historic
Yes,
property, but I don't see
right,
them in the other.
we did an audit of Ethan's position. Ethan Dickerman is our historic preservation administrator. Originally, when we put that position in, it was a part-time position.
Right.
And it has been increased to a full-time status. Ethan has proven to be very valuable employee. He's worked on a couple of grants so far, and he's also looking at securing additional grant funding. The level of work that he does, we did a audit with civil service, and they looked at increasing the grade. So that's a great change for him.
Okay, all right, so that raise is contractual, then if he's got a higher grade.
Yes,
Essentially,
yeah, right. It'll go through, it's gone through the mayor, it went through civil service, it went through the mayor, and it's gone through CSEA, the union. So now it just needs the blessing of it be put into the budget.
Okay, but last year he wasn't part-time, right? That was the 55.
He was full-time, but he was at a lower grade.
Okay, all right, just wanted to make sure that that was,
Yeah.
because otherwise it
Yes.
seemed like,
Right.
no, but, thank you.
What would propel someone into a higher grade?
What was the process?
No, what would propel someone into in other words, how would their grade get elevated? In this case, has he
It
taken on
was
additional
the
responsibilities?
amount, the type of work and the amount of work, like he is doing more project management with grants that wasn't in the original, like when you were part-time, that was just not possible. It was basically just managing the HLPC along with me. And so now he's doing that. He's doing grants, he's doing desk reviews, he is doing landmarking, like working with individual property owners if they want their properties to be nominated for state, national, or local listing. He works with that. He's there. He's a resource. He's an excellent resource.
At what point was he part-time? Was this, I know he was a lower grade, but at what point was he part-time?
He was hired, when he was first hired, he was part-time.
What year
But
was
we
it?
had, what year?
Just at least so.
No, it wasn't in 25, it was in 24.
Right, and that's when he came on at 53,000.
So he came in part-time at 53,000.
Um,
53,462.
He's only been there 2 years, or has it been there 3 years? 3 years. Oh, so this doesn't.
Yeah,
So
that's
like come on,
That's what
23.
that doesn't show now.
23, okay, then show that. And then has he, so he's been working on grants. Have we been awarded any grants to?
Yes, certified, when he first came on, we had just completed the certified local government grant to do the intensive level survey from Coffee and Wilbur. And so he kind of came in on the tail end of that one. And then he worked with us to get another CLG grant, which is certified local government for the Wilbur nomination to the national level. And he's working on another grant application now. We just submitted to do a comprehensive historic preservation plan along with design guidelines for historic districts and properties. So that one. So this is the primary grants that he was working on.
At what point will we take the civil service test? Because he has to take
He
that test.
he won't because it's a grade change. His title does not change. It's in the CLC contract. There are various grades and each grade has different titles. So he's just elevating, his grade is going from 3 to 5. So and it's comparable to like Kyla in my office is assistant planner. It's comparable to her level. It's comparable to the urban forester. They're both in level 5 and they do very, very similar work.
No civil service test needed.
No, because his grade his title is not changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only the titles change.
Right,
Not the grade.
right. He changed the title.
All right. So move on to 8020 planning. What sticks out there for you, Sue, what do you think?
Any questions on planning?
I mean, there's really not much. I assume the one change with the computer software that's just moved to data processing supplies. Otherwise, there's very little change that I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's pretty status quo.
I have a question about, where it says appointed officials, $14,000 for last year, I think, but not,
That was requested.
oh, that was requested because.
For this
They're
year?
not.
Right.
But not,
I had put it into as a stipend for board members.
oh,
Trying,
yeah.
it was rejected.
Oh, I have a question too.
I tried.
You tried, I tried.
I see a reduction from 24, 25, 26, in that regular pay.
What's the number?
That was 101.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just curious.
Are you comparing it to 2024?
Yeah, 24, yeah.
Yeah. 25.
So that reduced.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's.
Oh, okay, because I had put in for another position in the planning office, I put in for junior planning aide. The council approved it, but it was never filled. So that is why. So we are maintaining the same personnel level.
Never filled with what?
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
It
Why
was
was it not filled?
the mayor at the time chose not to fill it.
I'm just-
Go ahead.
I actually have a question about the appointed officials because I do really love the idea of giving a little stipend to our board members who work really hard. But of course, this isn't quite the budget season. Maybe worth it, but, and I'm also, to my question, and you could say you don't want to answer it, because I'm wondering what the mayor gave you for a reason, if it's just because of the tight budget. Or, and if you don't want to answer, I could ask.
I think not only the budget, but I think, if you do for one, you must probably consider for all. And I think that was more or less the reason. Yeah.
Do you know of other municipalities I know other municipalities pay their planning board or give a stipend.
They give us stipend.
Do you know if they do it to all the boards?
I do not.
Oh,
No, when we looked at what it should be, we did call around to other communities to see.
right.
And, you know, with the county, if you're on the county planning board, you get a stipend, but that's to cover your mileage because there's obviously travel expense incurred there. But that's the only stipend. But some of the towns do give, you know, they're minor. They're not huge amounts of money, but they help.
Yeah.
You know,
But it's just some, not all, because I'm aware of some communities that where.
not all do.
They don't.
No, not all.
Well, thank you.
There-
We bet that we could make that work. I mean, I guess we could, but.
Are there any, is there any, a line item for training? Because isn't there like a training requirement?
There's a 4-hour training requirement. We have been able to accomplish all of our training using online resources that are free. The Department of State offers quite a few. The counties, whether it's Ulster or Dutchess, they offer training sessions. You know, if there's an opportunity where we can do training jointly, that we just did one with the Landmarks Preservation Commission. So that was a 6-hour training. If members choose to participate, there's one coming up with Westchester to Zoom. It's on case law, planning and zoning case law. We send it out to our board members. If they take it, it's a free training. So we've been able to accomplish it through other means. And we do, you know, some training ourselves with the board members. So we got the new software, Unicolab software for the planning board. So we did a training session with them on that. So we do consider that, or if they attend certain events, like if they attend a housing forum or some other related planning topic, they'll get credit.
Why has the revenue line been sinking?
They were busy.
Huh?
You know, I put in, you know, I make a recommendation of what I feel is, you know, a reasonable amount based on what I see happening. You know, you'll have 2 or 3 projects come in. They pay substantial fees. Those projects might take 6 to 8 months to a year to go through the full review process. So you're not seeing, you know, huge fees coming in every month. Every so often, we'll get large projects. I do think that with the rezoning that the council did on Schwank Drive, we've already gotten a few inquiries for projects to occur along that stretch of roadway. Those will be larger projects, but they are coming in, so.
And by larger projects, so what is there's a fee scale that I think.
There's a fee
for
it's-
people.
Right, there's a base fee for, there's fee for minor site plan, fee for major site plan. And then there are square footage fees, so depending, it's a
I see.
varying of scale depending on how large the project is. If they require waivers, there's separate for that, so it depends on the project. They're not all,
Nothing is the same,
yeah.
but thank you.
Has anyone ever applied for the PILOA?
No.
PILOA, payment in lieu of affordability, so that if someone wanted to pay into this fund instead of providing.
No, they have not yet.
So I was curious if you had an opinion on why that is, that no one's opting out.
I don't know. I do know that some of them may, and I've talked to John Tui about this, because if there is affordability built into a project, they are eligible for a reduction on their site plan fee. But so the way we are working it is they pay the full fee up front, and then at the end of the project, when they are actually fully functioning, they apply for a refund of a portion of that fee. Because during the course of a project, they might come in and say, I'm going to be 100% affordable. And then they change things and they're not 100% affordable. So we make them pay the full fee up front, and then when they commit, which is through a deed restricted covenant that they have to do, that's when they can apply for that refund.
Andrew?
That just brought up something that's a little off topic, but with the zoning, the parking with new developments, is it problematic with any developer or constituents? Because of our parking, yeah, I mean, because that's where I like no parking mandate personally, but, and I've done a lot of research to think that it's the better approach, but, constituents don't always feel that way.
You see both sides of the coin. There are developers out there that say, yeah, I know you have no parking requirements, but I, as a developer, I know that I'm going to attract a certain, credit. I'm going to provide at least some parking, and I know, if you're going to have a mixed use building, you're going to need parking. And then if you are required to have, handicap, ADA compliant units, you need handicap parking. So they do, the savvy developers recognize that. I think, a lot of it depends on the project and where it's located. So we have the project right now in front of us on Frog Alley, right, which is 45 units, but 0 parking.
Right.
But I think in that location, it will work because I think in that location, now the size of the units is smaller, and it's a walkable neighborhood. And there is parking available within proximity, and that developer is looking at other options too, maybe to provide a few spaces off-site for some of their tenants. So, you have that kind of thing, and then you've got other ones like the one that is up near Sarah, and where the neighbors, it's not as walkable as we would like up there. Lucas Avenue does not have sidewalks in that neighborhood, so it makes it harder to force that argument that no parking should be required. And if you're putting in a dead end, you can't park in a snow emergency. So if people are building houses, they're certainly going to have cars up in that neighborhood. There's no question about it. And they can't park on the dead end street during snow emergency.
And
There's
there's no
parking on front
parking
lawns,
nearby.
and,
No parking whatsoever, even on the streets.
So, it's kind of like, you have to look at it case by case, it's situation by situation.
They're just regarding the sidewalks, right? Like that there's
Yeah.
no sidewalks. Is there a way with other projects or something that we can do where like we encourage the developer to put in sidewalks then connected, like in that area?
Yeah,
Or
like within the project of Sarah's,
Right, but on-
where they're putting sidewalks in that project, but
But
how
on-
far do you ask them to put it all the way down Lucas? Yeah, I
Right.
think that would be, it would never get developed.
Or like the project to,
Yeah.
from,
So
what's it called, what
you try and do them piecemeal. So if you're building a project, I say, okay, Terrell, I want you to put sidewalk in front of your project. And then you come along in 6 months and I say, okay, I want you, so hopefully it will piecemeal itself together. Like that's the whole idea also behind the whole waterfront pathways and access ways down there. It's built into the zoning code that when you come into the project, you will provide a public waterfront access and cross easement access. And so as each property ultimately gets redeveloped and comes on board under the new code, that will eventually all come together into a nice walkway. And, if there's a piece missing and the city sees that, maybe the city applies for a grant, just finishes it up.
I think, I was just like making sure everything was running smoothly, even though I hear complaints.
Yeah, I mean, there's been discussions, there's the project up on the boulevard, that, is 28 units. And, you can't park on the boulevard. So there is no other parking There is a small neighborhood, that's Terrell's Ward, there's a small neighborhood immediately adjacent, and their biggest fear was that these 28 units are all going to be parking in their neighborhood on their streets and walking through the woods if that project doesn't provide anything. So the project is providing a small number of parking spaces. And I think when the code went through, one of the planning board's comments was they felt very strongly that the parking in the old code was way overrated and it was way too much. And they realized that. But they did feel that, you know, for these larger projects, there is a need. And, you know, the planning board generally will work with the developers, and there's that negotiation that goes on both at the table and in our office discussions with them about what they're going to provide, what they think they should provide. And they have to show, they have to justify. If you build us up to over 10,000 square feet, you have to justify that you have.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
What is going on with the parking study?
The time text you, because she texted me.
No, I was just
Oh,
asking
really?
you about.
Yeah, I haven't heard feedback, so I just got home from work like right before I came here, so I haven't got.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's just funny. I was gonna follow up with that.
Okay.
I don't have an update.
Okay.
Because I thought the last thing was we got that grant and the administration was working on the RFP.
Yeah.
Not the task force. The task force was kind of waiting, but stay tuned because it's on my list.
All right. Planning. Drew?
The reduction in employee benefits from 2024 is huge. Why is that?
From 24.
Yeah, it's 812, 812, 826, yeah. Eight,
Well, oh, I have one that's, I don't know what the actual.
821 is insurance.
yeah,
Yeah, it might have been just somebody
There's
went from a
reduction
family
in all.
plan to,
Right.
it could have been somebody going from a family plan to single plan or opting out
Yeah, I
because you know, their spouse had better health insurance and we're not paying. That's what I'm
that's what.
guessing.
They could go to buy out. None of that has changed in the office. So I don't know. I don't control those expenses.
Yes, want to make sure we want to take care of. Right?
Yeah.
But that has happened and it's like a good chunk of money for an employee if they go from a family plan to a single plan or if they choose the opt out.
I get that, I mean, you know, the state that we're in now, I thought health insurance, all the benefits would increase.
Yeah, so I would,
Say,
if I was a betting person, that's what I would bet on. But if you want, how are you doing? Is maybe any questions? If we have any, or should I?
If you would.
I doubt it. So just interrupting this, because I should meant to say it before, obviously John Stewie's not here. So if there are questions throughout all our budget meetings, I'll reach out to either Pat or John once he's, you know, all for it.
Right.
So if you have any of those questions that the department head can't answer specifically, or you just have more financial, you know, specific questions, let me know and I'll send it to John. So do you want me to ask more details on that, or was
I'm just curious.
so you would like me to ask?
So I actually brought my 24 budget because it says, you know, like the actual from 24, and I'm always curious then what was actually budgeted. So in the 24 budget, what was budgeted at hospital and medical was budgeted 74,305, and then it says actual was 154. So I don't know that.
154, 590.
Yeah,
So we jumped up from,
just
from the actual to the budgeted, you're saying?
from the
Jump
budgeted
to
to the actual and then back down.
Right.
Yeah,
So
So it seems that something was happening that year.
yeah.
I wrote it down,
Yeah,
I'll
it's,
find out.
yeah, the benefits are all done, comptroller figures that portion out, we don't get involved with submitting anything for that.
Okay, Anything else with planning? Under the tree, shade tree section. So there's, I'm curious because we have theoretically federal money coming in for this position. So I'm wondering, because I
Yes.
see that there's a $500,000 figure under contracted services 472 that is reduced to only 10% of that number. And then down below,
Okay,
revenue
So-
also shifts
so
enormously.
There are multiple grants that are involved with this account. The USDA grant is a $500,000 grant.
And we
That's-
got that.
That is, yes, we have that. That's it's a 4-year grant. That is the grant that funds the position of the urban forester over the course of the 4 years. In addition to his position, it covers things like his office supplies. It covered equipment supplies. It covers marketing material. So it covers other aspects so that he can do his job,
Mhm.
what he was engaged to do. It has a very small chunk of that is for actual planting. There is, again, on top of that grant, there is a $750,000 grant from the DEC. And we had thought that a portion of that would have been expended in 2025, but it is not being expended in 25. It will be starting in 2026.
Mhm.
So that is primarily planting along city streets and in city parks, and it also has pruning activity in it, and it also assists in a small amount that covers some of my salary and my fringe benefits. And that is a 3-year grant. And then there is the core grant, which the city was just awarded, and we're still getting the contract together, and that's the 1.6 million. And that's a major planting grant. So that will be coming on board. That is the planting grants are no longer in the general budget. When I met with John and the mayor to discuss the budget, we decided to move those into a capital. Because it's much easier when they're multi-year grants to have it in a capital project program. That way, if you don't expend a certain amount of money, we're not coming back and asking for a budget transfer because,
Right.
oh, we didn't spend, $100, we only spent 95. So we got to take that $5 of the grant money because it doesn't go back into the general fund. We have to move it to next year's budget. So
Yeah.
rather than trying to do all of that shifting, when the new year comes, we decided that that was the cleaner way to do it. And it's a larger amount of money, and because it's over a multi-year term, it makes it flow much better. And it's easier for the financial keepers to do their jobs.
Are these all state grants or that you're describing or is that
Federal
some
and state.
Federal and state? How much
Yeah,
is
it's a combination. So the USDA is federal,
USDA, okay.
DEC is state, and
And how much
core
is,
is state.
and how much is USDA? That's the.
The USDA was 500. The DEC is like 700. It's like almost 3/4. Right. I don't know the exact amount. And then the core is 1.6.
Now, when the salary is covered by grants, are the benefits also covered by, they're also covered by the grant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The only, one of the few things that actually is not covered by any grants that we do have in the budget is a $5,000 figure, and that is used to provide stipends to private property owners when they have to remove trees or prune trees. The cost of a tree removal is extremely expensive.
Yes.
And when we are telling the property owners, it's in the public right of way, but it's your responsibility, you have to remove it, and they're all of a sudden faced with a multi-thousand-dollar bill, we felt that, you know, it was a good idea to at least offer them a stipend. The Memorial Tree Fund also offers a stipend, so
That's great.
between the two, they can, you know, they can at least get a little bit back. And
Yeah,
that's,
it's a great thing.
It's been successful.
Also reimbursement.
Yes, reimbursement.
Yeah, I'll spend it
Yes.
first.
So, I know that the draft tree ordinance is coming back to laws and rules. And I'm curious if that were to go and, you know, be adopted, will that incur any expenses that are not outlined here?
I don't think so. No, I mean, the urban forester will be the primary individual responsible for overseeing that. Our office provides the support for that individual, so
Okay.
I don't see any additional costs. No.
Any just supplies or notices or mailing, things like that?
I think we'll cover it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, we have really moved a good deal of our work to email, and everything's really digital now. It's, you know, there's very little snail mail, and you know, in many cases, Brent or Forrester is actually going out to people's homes and meeting with them on site. So, and he's explaining things to them there, so.
You would think a Forester wouldn't want to have so much paper.
Really,
I know.
really,
Yeah.
Yes,
he's so into it.
yeah.
No, if anyone wants to talk to him, he's like, let's go, let's get it going. Like he is a hands-on guy.
Yeah, and he's been very helpful to constituents of mine.
Yes.
We have questions about trees that are dying and how, you know,
Yeah,
how
very
to
knowledgeable.
address them, and so he's been very, very helpful.
Yeah, it's been great to get copies.
Yeah, road tree.
Yeah, tree commission, you know,
Yeah.
business, the constituents.
Yeah, and he's been doing some events around the city, the different parks and things like that to just try and promote,
This
you know,
with the
yeah,
trees,
yeah.
that was interesting.
Yeah, he came to my board meeting too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like every,
yeah. I see him all this, like, on the weekends or late, I'll get it. Baby dicks.
that's where
All right, any other questions regarding planting trees or history? All right, thank you, Sue.
All right.
We're gonna go next to parks and recreation. Which is our,
Do we have it?
It's on page
Yes.
95.
and it's the second.
that's nice.
Hey, Sue, thank you for all the work your department does.
Friday.
Friday?
2:30?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Well, 2:45, pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
We'll confirm in the.
we'll confirm.
Okay.
Thanks. How did you get?
Like, I'm a heat there.
The sun though.
I'm a mile away from the house.
Right. All right, welcome, Lindsay. So is there anything you want to tell us? Anything big going on? Big increases, big drops, big surprises?
Always big things going on, but as far as this upcoming budget, no, I mean, we tried our best to be very conservative, you know, given the mayor and John's fiscal reports. So we, you know, we were very honest. We were, you know, try to really be creative in the areas on foot. The one change that actually came up probably within the last few days, the mayor and I spoke. We were in the process of filling the vacant recreation leader position. And the decision was really difficult, and it actually came down to two individuals. And if you'll notice, I actually requested, I think, last year in this current budget for a part-time rec leader. And unfortunately, I haven't gotten it, but this year the mayor proposed that possibly taking some of my seasonal money and rolling it into part-time position, which we have actually, like I said, identified someone that we think would be a good fit for that. So that is the one thing I wanted to see if I could amend from that request.
Where?
And where is this?
7140. And so there's, we have a few different seasonal lines that the mayor authorized me to kind of pull money from. So it's a zero impact to the budget, but
Right.
this person would also be working during, summer and after school programs. So that's also where that money would be coming from to kind of,
Yes, so that would be a new position because I saw it advertised in the mayor's newsletter. And I think the base salary was like 70,000.
oh, so that's for the full time. That was a vacant position. One of our recruiters had left in September. In addition to that, I had requested a part-time leader, which was
So you're looking to fill one permanent
Full-time,
full-time
yes.
position
yep,
and one part-time position.
correct. The part-time would not affect the budget as is.
Okay, so what would be the purview of this one rec leader?
The
What center would he be associated?
the full-time or the part-time? Oh, so the full-time, really, we were looking for someone mostly to take over the after-school program. That's the biggest, the person who had that role before, that was one of their main priorities. But having this part-time position actually gives us some flexibility to move our staff around. A lot of times, depending on the season, some staff, their programs are a little bit more heavy than others. And having that part-time person actually allows for us to kind of shift and make things a little bit more balanced, I guess you could say, in certain times of the year. It also adds additional support, so the 3 rec leaders aren't, carrying so much of a heavy load. And the biggest piece of this that I've been looking to do is we need the capacity. We struggle with trying to offer new programs, trying without eliminating or kind of limiting our current programs. And so I think by having that part-time person, there are some programs that can easily be run by someone with their 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week, I guess I should say. So really, it just overall gives us that additional support for the recreation aspect of our department.
And how many children do you serve
At the
after school?
so the Albert Brown Community Center, we average.
Let's say that again.
So recently the name was changed. That's
Oh, yes,
Albert
yes,
Brown
yes,
Community
okay,
Center.
yes.
We average anywhere between 30 and 50 kids every day. And that changes depending on the time of year, holidays, things like that.
So read and write.
I'm sorry, yes, read right, still there, yep, and they've been wonderful, yep, they help out a lot, and, they're offering that extra service to the kids as well, so, giving kind of a well-rounded experience. We are also looking into expanding our hours into the evening, which is another reason why this position, is great.
So you're saying that you're talking about just transforming some of the seasonal pay
Correct.
to part-time employee pay?
Yes,
Why is that not reflected under
it just,
7140 lines 111 and 112?
this discussion just came up, during our interview process, which concluded, I think it was last week.
Okay, because I see the 31,000 that's requested.
Yes.
Would that still be the amount that you're looking for?
Yes, yeah, 31. Well, actually, I was gonna do 32 considering the CSEA increases that are expected for this year
Mhm.
or next year.
Okay,
But yes, and there's, like I said, I spoke with the mayor and the amount of money that we would be pulling from our various seasonal lines. We do have enough to do that without any additional requests or impact.
okay. Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, we're not really going in order like planning, but I have like a couple of questions. There's several lines that the overtime is going up significantly, for example, 5103. They're all 5103, aren't they?
Under which,
Well, I'm looking at the variance because I got a little lost with where trying to find what Lindsay was talking about.
Yeah.
So I switched to the variant, their sheet.
Yeah, I mean, you can go, that's fine, go through them. So for parks, 7110.
Wait, where are we?
page 95.
Oh, no,
Yeah, that's like 90.
97.
I said 7110, yeah.
Overtime. You said overtime went up? Is that,
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple different lines.
Oh, so
Right.
this
It went
overtime,
down from.
So 35 went up to 40
Right.
under one of the three there.
Yeah, and then there was another one that went up like 10,000 or how much?
So which one do you want to look at first?
Yeah,
You want to look
Another
at
one that went
71?
up 35,000. I don't know where they are because it's confusing to go back and look at the sheets.
Do you want, so if we go in order on the budget
Let's do that.
spreadsheet, so,
Wait, which budget spreadsheet?
so I mean, I'm looking at the
Okay,
city.
got it.
7210 is the one that you're concerned. That'd be huge.
Yeah.
That's Beats. So yes, that, so now that Beats is in full motion, the agreement that we have with the school district, during the school year, and really it's during mostly the school sports seasons. The school district offers, a labor or the
I'm sorry,
equivalent.
I don't know where we go.
Page 100.
Page
but okay, so
100, here or not.
okay, so
Yeah, there's you.
And we're looking at line 103 at the top.
One, got you. Okay.
Yeah, it goes from 15 to 50.
Okay.
50 to 50.
Mhm.
The school district, has a staff person there in the afternoon and the evening hours. So from roughly 2 to 10. Mondays through Fridays. The weekends and holidays, and during the summer months, our staff manage the stadium, which means we need a full-time employee there. Clean, to manage the space, make sure that there's no security issues. If there's an event, trying to ensure that, the group renting the space is, has everything that they need. Looking at the report right now as we stand today, we currently are at 71 down, I'm sorry, 72 down. To date, overtime is at 55,000 for the year. And the school is only going to provide a staff person, through their final event or game, which is the 14th of November. So our staff will have to take over, every day, not just on the weekends or holidays, from 2 to closing, and then on the weekends, the entire day.
So how are you, if we're already at 55,000, why are you predicting less for next year?
50,000.
Right, but Lindsay said that right now we're at 55. Oh,
Yeah, because
sorry.
at the time that I made my request, it wasn't, it was appearing to be a little bit less than where it's at right now. It's that the agreement has shifted a little bit over time. So things such as the school not having a staff person there for the remainder of the year, we were not planning for that. The original agreement was throughout the entire school year.
How can they just make that change?
I can't speak to the contractual part of that, but it's, that's what I'm being told. So we're trying to put our staff there as much as possible. We try not to put them there when it's not needed. The evening hours should help in the winter, because we do close, we have winter hours. So we close around 8. So it'll be roughly 15th of November through 15th of March. And then when the school gets back to their sports season, then they will have their staff person there again through the end of the school year. And then our staff are there again all summer.
So why does it have to be overtime pay?
I put in a request for a new employee. So this was the backup. That's the other thing, why there was only 50. I was hoping for another laborer. I know I was being ambitious, but I understand why that was not possible. So this was the alternative.
so isn't overtime paid at a higher rate though?
Well, that's the other thing, right? The rates have, our salaries have gone up, and I don't know if that was factored in with this budget, this current year.
But I'm saying it's 1.5 times.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so seems like an,
Well, yeah,
But then you're not paying for health insurance.
correct, and that's what.
All the benefits, which is usually an additional roughly 30,000.
so this is not overtime for staff.
It is, but I'm saying if you were to, maybe I misunderstood what you were saying,
No,
but if you were to hire another
A person,
person,
right.
you
No,
would
I-
have to give them a salary and then
Right.
of course.
No, I would suggest shifting the hours to the hours of most need.
Oh, God, sorry.
Yes, and that's that part of that is, that's stuff that we have to kind of negotiate with the union. We have discussed trying to have employees work, I guess years ago, they used to do a Wednesday through Sunday shift. For rec leaders, and I think some laborers, they used to kind of shift their hours, their schedule was different. But I guess it got complicated with holidays. As far as holiday pay versus like weekends and stuff. A lot of holidays fall on Mondays, so if someone's off naturally, like with their schedule on Monday and Tuesday, I'm told that it got complicated, so. But that was another option that was discussed as well.
Same with the stadium, the electricity.
Mhm.
Now, I'm assuming I understand why it's gone up a lot because
Yeah.
we're now using it.
Yeah.
But is the school district paying for any of that or?
Yes. So they, the school district, if you see there, the reimbursement we received from them this year was 106,000, or a little over 106,000. Next year, it'll be 109,000. So that's kind of the other piece of it, is I guess, part of the, contract that they're paying for us to be the primary, maintenance entity.
But that covers maintenance, electricity.
It covers what it can, I guess. It's their contribution towards operating the stadium. And obviously with the renovations, that's the other thing, is this contract was created before the renovation. So we didn't have the facility, staffed at all times, and we had a lot of complaints, a lot of vandalism, a lot of violence and crimes, and it became a real problem, and it was decided between both the city and the school that when we reopened, we were gonna have an employee on site during the evening and weekend hours. So that's, if you look, I mean, I don't know how far back this goes, but if you look over the course of the last 5 years, obviously these costs have gone up quite a bit. So the lights in the parking lot also, those were determined to remain on for safety as well, keeping it lit so that, if we get a complaint or if anyone gets a call, police department can come through and, see everything very easily.
Is there an increase built into their reimbursement?
Yes.
Because it does seem like it's gone up.
I think it's like
a 2,000.
Yes, like 3%
Yeah.
or something, 3.5% or something like that every year.
Okay, what is longevity pay?
Oh, so that's a contractual agreement for staff when they have been with the city for a certain amount of years. You basically get, I don't know what to call it, a bonus, but it's
Yeah.
an annual increase that you get
It's
on
a
one time.
thank you.
It's a thank you.
Staying with us, yeah.
Oh, how lovely.
So it's a bonus as opposed to going into the base salary, or does it go into the base?
Yes. Goes into the base.
It's in addition,
In
it's in
addition,
addition to the base salary.
so the base stays the same.
Correct.
But but this is a separate amount.
So I think after 5 years is when you get your first longevity payment, and
I
then
mean, it stays the same. You don't,
But you keep
Yeah,
getting it
please.
every year.
yeah, you get it every year.
but it increases I forgot what it is, but every 3 years or changes. So, for some of our staff that have been with the city for 20+ years, there's, it's higher than someone who's only been with us for 5.
And it's contractual.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water and sewer is really, and we're paying the water department, we pay the Kingston, this pays the Kingston.
We pay, we pay because it's a shared facility, so
It is getting paid.
yes, yep,
That's really jumped as well.
yes.
But
But again, so this number was different during
From
construction.
2024,
yeah.
That's the other piece of it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you're still on the stadium?
Oh, wow.
And for the facility charges, we don't see more now that it's so fancy and shiny.
We do, we are at, so currently, let's see where we're at right now. We've exceeded our our projection for this year, I believe. So currently, we are at 36,000 or a little over 36,000 for the year.
And what are the contracted services for the stadium?
So if there is any sort of major repair, plumbing, heating, turf, fencing. I mean, the hope is that we won't need to utilize a lot of that for quite some time because we're new. But things do come up.
That's a large increase. I just like the overall contracted expenses really jumped.
From contracted, I believe that's always been 10,000.
Well, now I'm looking at the total number of the contracted expenses.
So again, I think 2023 and 2024 were not, that's during the project, so nothing was being used.
If we could go back then, the order here. We can go back to 70-20, page 96. So I see that you requested $212,000, but the recommended is much lower than that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Under Recreation Administration.
Yep.
You requested $212,000, line 101. The recommended is $127,000.
So our project manager has departed the city, and I believe the mayor, is proposing, to kind of combine efforts with engineering for that position. And so I don't know where that currently stands as far as agreements and grade changes or, the actual status of, but that was I believe that was his thought process.
So, would that be a new position in engineering then?
No, I believe that it would be taking the project manager position, filling it with someone who is in engineering, and it's being a grade increase. Because they'll be doing additional work. So they won't just be doing project management, they'll also be doing, should know his title off the top of my hand, but, his work within the engineering department as well. So I guess what I'm not sure of right now is if that's gonna be a new title or, if a portion of it, how much is coming from our department versus engineering. But my understanding is it was an effort to save money and also promote someone who has been very involved and has done a good job over the last year.
And that would be somebody in the engineering department.
Right.
Right, but there's a lot of open.
Yes, there is, and that's the thing, is this individual has already been working with us on other projects.
Oh,
And
great.
yeah, and so he's familiar with our projects, it does make sense.
And he would remain in the engineering department and just.
He would sit in the engineering department, but he would be, it's similar to, I don't know how many of you were here when, the environmental specialist was split between engineering and parks and rec. So similar in that way, but, so John and I would have to, work closely together to make sure that the schedule and, job assignments are, it makes sense and that it's spaced out, giving him enough time to take care of all his assignments.
Any other questions regarding anything on 96? 97 then? I see a similar drop in the regular pay line. A drop of $50,000 or so.
No, that's from my request. I requested another position, so the drop you're seeing is just them removing.
Is that the same, that's what I'm saying, is that the same positions or is it a different position?
I requested I put 859 was my requested because I had put in another laborer and it was removed, so it went back to last year's number of 853.
And that's the one that we're just doing overtime for instead.
A little bit of, I mean, it wouldn't help. We were looking to put that person at ease for the most part, yeah. During the day when, like during work hours, they might have moved around between Forsyth and the pool and, that uptown area, but yeah, mostly we were gonna have them. We wanted their hours to be shifted if possible, so they could be there in the evenings.
Do you have a hard time finding to do the overtime?
We didn't used to, no, I just think there's certain parts of the year that get burnt out, I think. That's what I heard this year mostly. It's a lot between the events. If there's August into September is really rough with the special events. Stage requests that requires usually 3 to 4 individuals. The pool, the beach.
Right.
There's just so much going on at one time that, the feedback that I have gotten is, they're tired and it's hard because we go through the rotation so fast because of how many different requests there are.
Right.
So it's there's obviously positives, there's money, there's opportunity. But I think a lot of them, they want to be able to save their weekend or, go away with their families or whatever. But they also don't want to pass on overtime and put someone else on the spot. So they try to be respectful of one another. If there's a rotation, they try to stick with it so that they don't put someone else in a position where now maybe they're playing that shady.
But they can pass.
Oh, yeah, they actually could. And some do. There's, I think, Columbus Day weekend, we had a really hard time with all the events, happening. I do think that we, had something to do with the stage. I think we had to drop off the stage earlier or set it up earlier. We had to change our plans to make sure that we had enough staff.
Yeah, there were like 5 different festivals
Yeah.
happening that weekend.
And even, and that's on top of our regular trash and, cleaning duties.
Right.
And we usually have 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, so that, so you have, if you look at some of the payroll sheets, some guys do the trash duty in the morning, 6 to 9, and then go and do an event in the evening or do deets in the evening. That's not mentioning deets. That's like, so. And because the school doesn't staff on the weekends, we are doing 7 to 10 during the summer. So they'll split those shifts. Some guys will work one long shift, but it's just a lot of coordinating really. But yeah, by the end of the summer, they're usually pretty tired.
Is there anybody else curious about the school district?
Yes,
Say
yeah,
it, thank
I
you.
yeah, I feel like.
I mean, obviously, we don't have the answers to that, so I don't think that's a John question, I think that's probably a Barbara question. So I'll ask, like, because it bothers me that they said they're gonna do the end of the year, and if that was in the agreement.
Right.
And now we have 6 weeks to do, like,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
And this kind of came out of nowhere. Right.
Right, so you all agree that?
Yeah, I'm gonna, we can have a look at the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like what happens if, say, they're supposed to provide somebody and then there's a snow day, do they provide a person, do they work, or do they still?
Sometimes no. Sometimes we, if they, it really depends.
Yeah.
Okay, it depends. It varies. We have an evening labor, so sometimes that has helped in situations where we needed to cover really quickly. We didn't have to necessarily bring anyone in. But we have an evening labor for a reason, because there's other programs and things going on.
Yeah.
Locking the bathrooms, cleaning the bathrooms, making sure that someone's in the building for volleyball and basketball. So it is tough to sometimes ask them to leave to go to do something and,
And all of that's the city's responsibility. Really? Okay.
well, when the school's person is not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anything else regarding page 27, 7110?
From 1797?
97. Can't read my mind. If not, we can move on to 96. This is section 7140. 98,
We
sorry.
still have more to go.
They dropped one tab, that's the problem. 7140, playgrounds and recreation. I think we already discussed the main issue on this one.
Part-time employee, right,
Mhm.
that's there, yeah.
So,
I have a
Yeah,
question,
good.
just, programs for seniors. I felt like was trying to find some stuff for somebody, a constituent, and I felt like I couldn't find it, and I was wondering.
It's a weird number, it's 6772, so it's on page 95. That's actually the first page.
Oh, okay,
Sorry about that.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
yeah, the lower.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna ask a question about bus trips.
Yeah.
Like, where do the bus trips go? Where do you go when you have bus
We
trips?
just
Like, how
went
many?
to, yeah, we went to Lake George, in September, and it was great, filled the bus. Everyone had a really good time. Not last year, or casino trips, they always wanna go to casinos,
That's
we always try to, that's usually a bonus trip, because we really don't have to pay for anything but the bus, so we're able to offer that at a lower rate, because the casinos actually give, yeah, they give voucher with food and other fun things,
Oh,
so.
they're gonna get so much.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like, why wouldn't you go? But, you know, we've also done, Villa Roma, that was fun, you know, it's hard because a lot of these places don't do these, kind of group rates, I think, the way they used to. Like, I always hear stories about, you know, the Yankees bus trips or going to see the Knicks, and, every time we call, I mean, the wholesale rate that we get, it's quite pricey. So with $6,000, I mean, that, you know, one trip really eats into it. You know, but we've recently launched our sponsorship page, you know, and a lot of people have reached out, wanting to find out more about how to sponsor different programs. So hopefully we can,
Yeah,
Yeah.
$6,000 is like
It's-
2 tickets to the World Cup.
yes, exactly.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's it, you said you add, I'm sorry.
That's like dropping too,
Okay.
or-
Yeah, oh, yes, so the drop-in programs, we still have ceramics, most of our programs are free. The only one I think that that has a fee is, ceramics. Mostly because we have an actual instructor and, you know, for her time, as well as their projects, they have to be taken
Right.
off-site. Film.
But otherwise, we're still offering like the same level of, not the other groups other than ceramics, but like we're offering the same level, just,
Bingo, line dancing,
Okay.
um,
it's at the same level.
Yeah.
Taught for-
yeah, we tried to launch a committee, you know, we asked for
Saw
some
that, yeah.
applications. You know, honestly, we didn't get a lot of interest in it, which I found surprising. I thought that there would be more of an interest, because a lot of people have a lot of suggestions just in passing. So we really welcomed it. We were, you know, and it wasn't gonna be a time consuming thing, kind of maybe once a month, just to get the direct input from our senior community. You know, because if you tend to ask, if, you know, like we asked our bingo participants, they're always gonna say they wanna go to casino. You know, if we, you know, even when we advertise things on Facebook or in the Freeman, we get a lot of people, a lot of non-residents. So we're trying to really, like, directly get the Kingston folks. You know, and we would go to them if folks want us to come to their, you know, if they're at one of the senior homes. We could go there and have a meeting, we could work all that out, but I think it's more of, if we could get just some additional input to try to mix up our, you know, our programs.
Yeah, two things.
Yes.
First of all, I have a kiln in my house, if you want it.
Oh my God,
It
really?
doesn't work,
Oh, okay.
I should take to repair it.
Okay.
It is very heavy.
Okay.
And it's just sitting there, so I would be.
I will look at hill repair.
I don't know how much that takes to repair,
Yeah.
but I just mentioned it, I'm like, oh wait, I actually have one in my.
Take it to the repair kit bag.
But do have a question or I guess, a suggestion?
Yes.
You mentioned that you send out advertisements for people to sponsor some of the senior trips.
So we're as a municipality, we're not allowed to solicit. We've recently been posting, social media and there's a newsletter that we have sponsorship opportunities. And then if businesses are interested, then they can come to us and say.
Okay, so it's Facebook. I was gonna suggest that maybe council members, if you see that, then share it.
And I can send you guys something if that helps. But yeah, if you have anybody that's interested, they have to come to us. So that's
Right.
that's what I'm told.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. An unrelated question, where would I find any expenses related to the Midtown Center, remediation?
I'm assuming in Jack's files.
So it wouldn't be
And these are
reflected in the
capital
budget?
budgets, right?
No. So that project was funded in by Nova.
I know, right?
Oh, so I
You
don't.
said in part, and.
Well,
my
I think like,
understanding.
I think ARPA took care of the quality equipment that we purchased. I'm not sure, but I think the bleachers we purchased through ARPA. And then the equipment for the kids indoor playground program.
So that wouldn't have been reflected as an expense and then the revenue side.
No, it didn't come out of it didn't come out of the general budget.
And how many seniors do you serve generally?
So I'm gonna give you a rough, I forgot about the home crafters, sorry. Home crafters.
Oh,
Home crafters have about 15 individuals. Line dancing has about 10. Ceramics, 8 to 10, depending on the time of year. Bingo is our largest senior program. I think that has gone up to somewhere between 30 and 40 at this point. Yeah, we can't fit in the senior lounge anymore, so we've moved them out of the gym. But during the summer months, they're here actually. City Hall. They take it very seriously.
they do.
Very seriously. If you come in the building on Thursdays, I would advise you to go to the bathroom.
But they look at you like.
Don't make any noise.
They're flying.
Yeah.
Well, then,
Yeah.
right back on.
Yeah. Just knock on a different door.
What are you doing? You're like,
Yeah.
Lindsay, I'm not sure where this will be reflected in
Yeah.
here. I know, we have a lot of programs that require jerseys and shirts.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, how much of that is offset by sponsors fees, or do we absorb some of that cost?
We haven't in quite a few years, so there's 10,500 in us, there's a sponsorship line in 7310. So that is, and then, so there's a revenue line and an expense line.
Right.
So that is roughly what is, budgeted. So the sponsorship fee right now is 285. And right now, the amount of bidding basketball registrations that we have, for example, we have 29 teams. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's definitely a big help for sure.
how many kids on each team?
We cap it at 10, because then there's an issue of playing time.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right, any other questions? Relating to Parks and Rec.
That's great.
Large.
Doing a great job.
Very large department.
We got good
Yeah, a
staff.
lot going on.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's a biggie.
Yeah. Huge.
It's a stadium. Someone asked me the other day if there's any water balance at these.
Inside the grandstands.
Okay.
So is everybody good with pages 98, 99, 100?
The stadium that we talked about.
Yeah, so 101,
Now, 101, this is the environmental education and sustainability. Are there?
Yes.
Now, I think my understanding was there was a grant funding position in this, embedded in this?
There's-
No.
Not fully grant funded, but like the ZPGA grant funds a portion of the salaries.
contracted services.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to have risen a lot last year. Or rather gone down.
It went down.
Went up and came down.
And what does that consist of?
Yeah, so the contracted services, that's transportation for the school programs, junior naturalists, summer camp, transportation, refrigerant in the C program. Yeah.
And why do we have a lot more programs there? Because I'm just seeing that in 2024, we only spent 13,000 something on that.
I believe we received a grant that year to help with the transportation.
Okay.
There was, conversations with the school district, and I don't think they have the means to provide transportation, and so I believe, we received a grant to help with that.
And then what happened there with the general materials and supplies? I see a request for over $100,000, but then a recommendation of under 20.
Which is still significantly more than.
Yeah. Are we ordering everything now gold plated?
You're doing the, right?
No, that would be the white.
I think there were, electrical supplies for the EV charging stations, but I believe that was moved to capital project
Mm-hmm.
accounts. So that's why it was taken out.
Oh.
Instead of coming from the general budget, it was rolled into capital account.
But what makes it go from 9,000 to 19,000? Is there any other additional? It's like skipping over the request.
Right.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I don't know what we got. Yeah, I mean, it's 2,000 for green infrastructure plantings, Earth Fair event, climate smart materials, CAC materials. Environmental education supplies, but I believe that's reimbursable through a grant.
That just seems like a lot. right?
Yeah, would it be possible for you to send us a detailed list of what that
Yeah.
covers?
Yep.
The regular pay, how many people are covered in this department?
3.
Line 101.
Yep, 3.
3 full-time?
Yes.
And then do you remember to send that breakdown of that one line?
For 485, correct?
Yes.
This is revenue, but what is New York State aid, cultural education?
Those are grant reimbursements.
Those are grants.
Yeah. Or I give reimbursements that we receive.
New York State grants.
All right, anything else on that page? 101. 102. Youth programs, not much has changed there. I should say, nothing has changed there.
Same with adult recreation.
Under either that though, well, under user charges, user fees and the revenues section there, Lindsay, page 103, user fees. requested is 58,000, recommended is 45,000. Is
Mhm.
that just being conservative?
Yeah, we're just, we're seeing a shift, and, in the trend. So, yeah, we're not, some of our adult programs just are not, as popular as they used to be. So we've been discussing, making some changes. But we haven't really come close to that 58,000 in quite a few years, so. On page 103 under adult recreation revenue.
Oh, gosh.
And what are the programs that are part of this adult recreation?
Bingo. No, that's a.
That's not, that's,
Yeah, softball, volleyball,
Oh.
basketball. Yep.
Yeah.
We were talking about the seniors.
Yeah.
There's other recreation grants.
Right, and we have gotten a lot of, we've gotten a lot of requests for other programs, and again, this to pushing the point, but having that additional capacity, I know there's a group that loves some of the adult programs that we do, but it's, we're not really seeing an increase, we're not even seeing a steady number anymore. But we are getting requests for a lot of other types of programs. So that would require us to make some changes.
There's a decrease in what basketball, volleyball.
Softball mostly, volleyball is actually doing really well, I would say, but volleyball seems pretty consistent, actually.
How about pickleball?
I was just gonna-
Yeah.
Well, pickleball, yes, we've seen an increase there. We do have a drop-in program actually that we run at the Albert Brown Community Center during the winter.
Oh,
But if we had some more space, some more time, capacity, we would certainly explore some of those more,
I've heard it's very popular.
I've heard too.
and are there any other programs that people really want to, maybe you're not able to really provide?
Yeah, I mean,
Like what kinds of things?
I've been asked about adult kickball, I've been asked about flag football for adults. Yeah, as far as sports goes, but then there's the whole, not everything is sports, so. Our staff have a lot of great ideas, it's just not every time, a lot of times there's an idea presented. We can't figure out where to fit it in with the current schedule. And again, we can't give our staff more than what they're able to kind of put together and have time for.
Right.
Is there liability insurance that would be associated with these activities?
We're covered under the cities.
Oh, under the cities.
Yeah, everything. If it's a city program, it's all covered, people sign waivers and all that.
All right, any more questions regarding parks and recreation?
any idea, about what's gonna happen with the boxing grant?
Yes, so we've actually received a couple of proposals. Yep, we've got a couple of folks that have been interested, in kind of taking that on. We want it to be. I know there's a lot of potential for the program, but the first step in my opinion is obviously focusing on the youth portion before it turns over more to the adult factor, but we want that program to be free if we can ensure to do so. So that's another thing that we're trying to explore, getting an instructor who understands some of the limitations, the cost limitations, and that we want to keep this a free program. But we've gotten a lot of great ideas, and I'm hopeful that once we get our staff in order, I think that we'll have some more capacity for that.
You think that PAL, I was born in Brooklyn, PAL.
Yep.
Okay, is that coming back? Or?
So, I mean, we've talked to a few individuals that are, they're.
There you go.
Yes.
Is the PAL coming back? Oh,
What's that?
no, I was just asking.
Yeah.
PAL.
We can include that in the budget. I didn't want to interrupt before, but the junior naturalist program that's run by our city is absolutely incredible. And the reviews from a bunch of the children that went with my child to that were incredible, and I just want to thank you for that. I said that to the mayor, but
Is that at the beach?
it's all over. It's at
Yeah,
Forsyth Park and
yeah,
everything, but it's really good, and they learned a lot, which is great.
Casey is our rec leader that runs that, she does a wonderful job.
YMCA, Casey?
No, Casey Keegan Twombly, our rec leader. She's our rec leader that goes into the schools and does a lot of our environmental education programming.
Oh.
Yeah, but she also manages a lot of our other programs, adult volleyball, beach volleyball. So she wears many hats, but thank you for that.
That's
No, I-
Let her know.
We were actually looking at the radar. Is the rain's coming?
Oh.
We weren't expecting.
Yeah,
I see that like New York State Youth Bureau money seems to be now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last couple of years, I think for 15,000. Is it not?
That revenue or?
Yes. Yeah, so they split, it's broken up by, so there's 2,500 in 7310, there's 10,000 or 9,000 in, environmental education. Which is probably, that's roped in, I guess, under the New York State culture and education. What was the other one?
Are we just splitting it up differently?
That's how the contract, that's how the contract.
Okay.
So actually, this year's contract doesn't break it up, it just, we don't have to do that for the future, but past contracts have, required that our like reimbursements for staff time and it be broken up in that way, but
Okay, just because like 22 through 24, it's at 4,000.
right, so that one year it was 16,000, the year before I think it was 17,000, but 15 is what we've gotten, I think, in the last couple of years. Right, it's 24. Just. So it comes out at 7140. 7310. And 7250. And then it's all added up, it comes to 15,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
all right, if there are no more questions of the budget part, there's one item that you want on the capital plan.
Okay,
There's one item you want on the capital plan. The 4x4 heavy duty pickup truck
yes,
plow. Book 5.
that would be replacing one of our older trucks, truck 219. It is in rough shape. And, we all have.
Rough shape because it's elderly.
Yes. We've honestly, thanks to the council, the mayor, we have been able to kind of, rotate out our older vehicles and have newer trucks now, which is great. This would be like complete our current needs.
So what would you, what would you do with the elderly?
It would be awful. Yeah, so like the other ones, I think last year we got 2 or 3, I think it was awful. That does sound bad, we're not all very down, but elderly trucks, yes.
Sent to the farm.
Are we speaking to Forsyth? Is that in here? Or like- That's the, right, yeah, part of the zoo.
So that's under 7180, that's the special recreation facility, the nature center and the
Okay.
pool.
All right.
And, but I was gonna ask, that's why veterinarian services are there.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
That pickup truck, is that a new pickup truck?
Yeah,
Yes,
I was thinking that doesn't seem like
it is.
seems you cost.
That seems,
No, that's that I.
they're bonus. That seems awful cheap.
Doesn't have
That's
a radio.
It's-
Frank windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be through the state pool.
Yeah, so the quote
Yeah.
we received was for a little over 54,000, and so we built in contingency.
That's including the plow on
Yes.
it? Wow.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yeah.
So would this mean that all your vehicles are relatively up to date, or are there other old ones?
I mean, older, but not in desperate need or trade in. But yeah, I believe this final truck would get us to where we need to be. All of our staff will have more newer, adequate vehicles.
Any other comments, queries? Anything,
The seasonal employees, that's all the pool, is that the lifeguards that are there during the pool? Yeah,
Yes.
during the summer when you have pool open.
For 7180, that's
Yes.
lifeguards, so that includes lifeguards, aquatic directors, pool attendants. That also includes the nature center seasonal staff. So that's just one pile. But no,
Yes, the money.
so,
It's still difficult to get the lifeguards.
you know, it hasn't been as difficult to get lifeguards, but it's been difficult to get lifeguards that are committed for the whole summer. It's a short,
Yeah.
so I think we had honestly like maybe 23 lifeguards this year, but between vacation, school, sports, you know, there's other jobs, some that have. There are some weeks that we still struggle, believe it or not, so that's, but
I
that's,
do believe it.
yeah, everyone we talk to, it sounds like everyone has that same struggle. I mean,
I've heard that
you're
too.
dealing with college students for the most part, or even high school students, and, you know, if you're in sports, summertime, sports don't necessarily stop, but we, you know, we've been getting our recreation leaders more involved, whereas in the past, that wasn't so much how we were, operating. When I was younger, I know that was, at least a few years that I can remember, there were rec leaders that were responsible for the pool. And Mary Elizabeth, she was wonderful. I mean, she was basically a full-time employee without the title, and she cared so much about that place. So we relied on her so much, and she knew that pool inside and out. So, but now that she's no longer with us, it has been impossible to find someone with that same, just the knowledge, but even like the commitment. That's just, so we've recognized that now, our department will also need to be more involved, you know, our year-round staff. So that is, as far as that part-time position, that is something else that's been in consideration, as a responsibility.
right?
Yeah, that pool is very well used.
Yes.
Summer, I drive by it all the time and it's always, people are having a great time.
Yes.
And the sprinklers are working now?
Some were, we actually have a meeting, maybe the next week or so to talk about, infrastructure repairs and pipes and all the fun stuff, but hopefully we get that sorted out as soon as possible.
I heard a lot about that.
Lori, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Cheers. Thank you guys for the support. I warmed it up for you.
Right.
I don't
Page 65 in the web survey. It's following in the line.
That would be so helpful. That would be great, because I do feel like that's a thing with the city. Shouldn't.
No, no rush.
She let it deal.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah, take care.
All right. So, stands out to you all? Any major changes, any exciting things you can let us know about?
No, I'll be working off the sheet just to kind of show the differences in the accounts and there. I think the total increase 365, 911, the majority of those can be attributed to contractual changes. Both really almost. There's been a couple of adjustments here and there, but overall pretty steady. We haven't asked for much more. Even on the bond, we're looking for one car this year. Normally we are asking for monies for a maximum grant or upgrade, or I should say upgrade for replace resistant dusts. I think we usually come back every 3 to 4 years. Dust panels are good for 5 by manufacturers. Recommendations and a grant, the federal level grant. Normally provides half match. So I think we put it for 50. It's about $1,000 per vest is what we're looking for. And that'll cover every officer down there.
Didn't we, have that like million that we got last year? I thought some of it went to the vest?
Not for,
It says separate.
yeah, it's really just for coin tech.
Oh, okay. I feel
Yeah,
like-
sorry.
I feel like we-
I kind of vaguely remember that too.
I remember that. Yeah, not for bullet resistant stuff. No, it wasn't designed for that at all. Now, this grant that came from the state, 1.149 million, was really just for technology dedicated towards crime reduction. It really wasn't designed for any type of,
But it was a year or so
spoke
ago,
about it,
we
'cause
had a,
they-
we had a
yeah.
whole conversation about vests.
yeah, we may have, but we didn't, that wasn't part of the tech grant.
It wasn't part of that grant, but it was a part of another.
No, we always request some vest money in there, but this is a full replacement from the department, yeah. If you look historically, we've always looked for a couple thousand, year to year, because when you hire new officers, they're given new vests. But this would be for a matching group.
And are these worn as a matter of course or only in particular circumstances?
If you're in a uniform patrol response position, you have to wear them all the time, yeah. Yeah, currently myself and the dep don't have them on, but.
Oh,
we have
that's good to
issues as well. I mean, I know I look like I have it on, but.
Possibly by trade.
Oh.
Yeah, so those, they get a lot of wear, that's right.
Yeah, well, listen, at the end of the day, I know we've had conversations in the past about it. Now, the truth is, if you buy a brand new vest, you keep it in the box, you store it in a nice cool place, it'll last you 50 years, right? But there's where it's, you gotta wear it in, it gets, the fibers start to open, there's sweat involved, so, part of it is the way you hang them, store them, and use them. But at the end of the day, the manufacturers are saying 5 years, but that's right. Yeah, and they average about $1,000. The ones we bought last time have the capability, I don't know if it's this last round or the one before, they offered us an upgrade to be somewhat standard as well. There's some cases of knife blade used, but those run generally a little bit more money. So.
Okay, let's look at page 65 then. Questions there?
I have questions about overtime and just where we are now, because it seems like it doubled for what was budgeted for 24 and then the actual 24, and then we don't know where are we for 25, for 25.
So currently we have 2 overtime lines, 103, which is the pay overtime, and 108, which is the comp overtime.
Right.
Officers have the capability to determine whether they get paid in that payroll period or to comp it and either burn it or get paid for it at a later time, normally getting paid out in December. That's why when you look at our current budget line, the 108 still has the same figure that we started January with. Because that number doesn't change till the payout, which is slated for the end of November, and payroll the second week of December. So so there's 2 overtime lines. The 103, that number right now is in the negative. We're going to be making some budget transfers and most likely from the 108. So being a comp time account, it is difficult to predict when officers get paid and how much they'll get paid. One contractual change, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, was that officers were allowed to build up a larger bank of overtime for the purposes of retirement and later use of it. Before we limited to 50 hours on a year-to-year carry, now it's been increased to 240. So right now, we're seeing a decrease in the content they have in an effort for officers to build up that content bank. So that number, like I said, we felt comfortable lowering that number down from, if you look at, I think it went from, and again, I'm focused on the 108, 475 from the original budget proposal to 400, reduction of 75,000. The reality is that money is now being moved over to the overtime to reflect more accurate payout number. So 103 and 108 are both overtime numbers. That really is more of the total overtime spend in the department. Some of it is reimbursed through GIVE grants, gun-initiated violence elimination grants. Some of it we get from intimate partner violence, some of it mental health programs. There are revenue lines that allow us to bring them in, and those numbers vary. Some of them are established early on at the beginning of the year. I think the GIVE is currently 170, 160. 168. So that part of it is being reimbursed by the state, dedicated for. So there are overtime expenses in those two accounts, but there is some reimbursement that we get from the state.
So, but just out of curiosity, where are we at with the 103 overtime?
Right now, we're about
line at?
80,000 over budget.
Okay.
How much?
80,000.
80.
Over budget.
Yeah, and we feel, at this point, I feel comfortable that the budget modification will be coming from the 108, taking it from the 108 and moving it into the 103. And that's what we did here.
I have
Yes.
two questions on this page. Michelle, are you done? All right, sorry. The school guards, I see that there's an increase. Is that because we're paying more or we're getting more school guards?
Both. There's an increase in the salary, what we're paying them, and also we've added corners. Yeah. That is a volatile.
Crossing guards.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah, I know
I'm
what they
sorry.
were. I just.
No, yeah.
Yeah, we advocated strongly to have this a few years ago. And so I'm glad it's in here. So I just wasn't sure if it was.
Yeah, so in an effort to try, so it's a unique position because it's not full-time, it's part-time, there's no benefits. And the hours are a couple of hours in the morning, a couple of hours at night, and it doesn't really matter if it's rain or snow. If school's open, we have to man the corner. In some cases, when the assigned crossing guard can't cover the corner, we have to send an officer. And usually, then we move money over. What we're finding is we have increased their pay rate, which has kind of brought in a new group of individuals that are willing to do that at that pay rate. We are upgrading their equipment right now. We're gonna try new flashing stop signs, been a couple of close calls at these intersections. Better vests,
Trap jacket, like a rain jacket that fits, stuff like that we've had. We've tried to go back to what we've had and make sure that now the chief is investing, trying to make sure that they are high visibility so that when people come, there's no question that it's a crossing guard and that they have something.
Oh, that's great. And then can I ask just as a follow-up to that?
Well, it is sort of related
Yeah.
because I was hoping we could create a separate, like a line for the revenue we're going to generate from the school cameras, the safety speed cameras, so that it could then be dedicated to other school safety initiatives.
Is that a question for?
Yeah,
John?
so for John.
All right, and then my other, I may need you to repeat that, so don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to forget my other question.
Okay.
Do you, 404 on the same page, the
Yes.
miscellaneous, it's, it's a decent sized number. Can you itemize that a little bit for us? Like, what-
Sure. Breakdown, there's two things that come out of it. That money is set aside for narcotics investigations. So we spend a lot of it, majority of it, in fact, is narcotics, confidential informants. That's what it costs the business when we're dealing with special investigations. A small piece of it, currently about $2,500 of the 404 is used to pay for prisoner meals. So when you do have.
Prisoner. What do they call them, prisoners?
Well, that's the term that's been used.
Detainees, I don't know.
Detainees.
Like, why-
Yeah, visitors, guests, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're in a jail. They're in a holding cell.
I think probably part of that is just because it says from the state forms, the state prisoner law.
Yeah, just like.
It's harsh.
Well, they're not free to leave when they get there.
Right.
I mean, they don't get the choice to go there. But at some point, we do have a standard meal that will require by state. We get inspected once a year by the Commission of Corrections. They go down, do an audit on everything, make sure the jail cells are.
And there's times they get 3 or 4, depending on how long they're there. They can be there for a range.
Yeah, clearly with changes in bail reform, we don't have it that often anymore. That number used to be up to $7,000-8,000. It's been reduced now because we don't have it as often as we used to. But when we do have somebody overnight, we are obligated to make sure that they're fed and properly fed. We do have a program with the hospital to provide blankets, bedding. But fact is, it's not a hotel room, right? It's not a holding cell. It's not this.
Thank you.
Good.
So I want to go back to the crossing guards. Did you know that I've been bugging you about the crossing guards at Dunman?
Really?
Because I know, like every week, I get the reports from the people who are crossing there, and I realize there aren't a lot of kids right now, though there probably will be more coming because that neighborhood is changing. But they have reported that the crossing guards there's one particular crossing guard that is really unreliable. Now, when that person doesn't show up, they don't get paid, right?
That's correct.
They don't get paid. Okay. And one of the things that the mayor and I have been discussing is whether that, and I've discussed it with these constituents, is whether having those flashing lights like they have on Broadway would be a possible solution. And they are all now getting behind that. So how, so that might be a budget change, or maybe some money comes out of the personnel, or it would be a capital expense. But I think the idea is that would be an investment that once it's made, it would just continue, and then you wouldn't have to hire a crossing guard there like every year, especially when the crossing guard has not been reliable.
One thing we can use that for technology to replace the possibility that a person can call out or whatever.
Right.
Normally, the crossing guards are good about calling the on-duty supervisor and notifying them, hey, listen, I'm not gonna be able to make it, and we'll have an officer show up. But the truth is, if they don't make the call, we're unaware.
Where do you know? No, that's when I call you and say,
Yeah.
But no, and thank you for that, because it's been really important for them. So I think I'll continue my discussions then with the mayor about possibly
Yeah, absolutely.
having that flashing.
Yeah, if you could pass on to the constituents, really, if they get there and there's supposed to be a guard there and there's no cop there, to call them.
Right.
I'll tell them.
Don't wait, please, don't wait. I mean,
I'll tell them.
Clearly, we feel we're invested in the program, and if we don't know,
Yeah,
listen,
you
at the end of the day, we had a meeting today about some stuff, and I'm like, oh, everything's going great. So I got the meeting, I'm like, what do you mean we're not doing it? No, we had to fix it, right? So.
Right, no, that's great, and you did, you were very responsive, but I'll have them call you directly rather than doing the go.
Yeah, no,
having
it's always
the
going to
between.
be phone call.
1671, right? The main line.
Oh, 1670. Not your direct line.
It's like even it's like those flashing lights, if then we can have a dedicated fund from the revenue.
Yeah, I did remember the
So-
question to write it in.
That would be great, because, and the beauty of the flashing lights is they would be there 24/7. Instead of just, because that crossing is still very perilous, even at other times of day.
So you just put.
So
the
that would be
people
great.
Well, but you
This is a
also,
woman, this is a person who doesn't always show up.
Hmm.
So
you have to
maybe she doesn't want to
train.
work.
I'm a little wary of putting in those lights for children across, because they can give people a false sense of security that if they push the button, the traffic will stop. I have seen numerous incidents on Broadway
yeah.
where somebody has like blown right through and they realize what they did. And I've seen them actually so I know they're not,
So they're not 100%.
they're not just driving through to drive,
I completely agree. So I think that would actually be a really unsafe idea.
Then I guess the question is then how do we get better crossing guards? Because if there's a crossing guard, if she didn't show up for a total of about 3 weeks, last year.
So the,
Like, this is not just sporadic. This is like somebody who,
well, one of the realities here is that we're trying to pay some people a really small
I know.
amount of money
I
to
know,
do a really important job. And I'm not saying that money, I mean, clearly that's what we're here as a budget meeting,
that's
but we're
right.
giving somebody maybe in that situation an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the evening. So it breaks up your entire day and you're giving them $30 for the morning and $30 for the afternoon.
I know.
I mean, it's not, so, and that may be one of the things that we have to look at in the future, maybe try to figure out, maybe placing them at different locations after or something, and trying to do something, but that's the reality of it. I mean, I'm trying to get people to work, and you get
I know.
retired folks, and then retired folks are not really wanting to be working
No,
sometimes.
that's right.
And then they say, I'm going on vacation with my family, it's not like we can say, don't go on your vacation, so we have to put an officer there.
Right, and I've sent around the flyers to, just asking some of the neighbors know a
Right.
neighbor who might be willing to apply for the job, and
We're always.
it's hard, I know.
100%.
And the other part of it is, like the chief mentioned, like everybody wants to be a crossing guard in September, October. But then it gets cold and it's not necessarily the snow
Yeah.
because then the school's closed, but I gotta tell you, in January and February, folks are, 70, 80 years old, and they're like, why am I doing this?
I know.
It's a tough
No, it's a very tough job, I know that, that's why I'm trying to think of alternatives,
Yeah,
but,
Who would be the person? Would that be you if there is an issue with an employee? There would be
Yes.
your employee.
Yeah. There's no contractual obligation to maintain them. If they're that unreliable, the problem is we're always looking and we have posted. We just don't get people to
I
go.
know,
We don't have 12 people for 5 spots, right? We have 9 people for 10 spots. You know, that's the problem. So we're always like
And,
scrambling.
and we also run into a little bit of an issue when we put people in the queue, right? So it's hard to just tell somebody, okay, just because, and there's people that have with health issues, and it's hard to manage these really part-time employees to discourage them from not coming. And then once we do, we don't know what we're getting with the next employee. So we have another person that's like, yeah, no, I'm ready to go. And then we say, okay, we want to go play on Lucas Avenue. Well, I live downtown. I don't have a car. Okay, so now we're gonna try to move the
Right.
people around. Like, it's not the
It's
easy, I know
not-
it sounds
I know.
ridiculous. It's
No,
something,
it's
everything, it's a small thing in our budget, but it is, it's
It
really.
takes time and it takes a lot of time.
Right.
For- I know that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we invest probably 2 days worth of training over the course of the year, you know, to make sure it, you know, sounds simple enough, right? Like, listen, you see a kid, it's like, I'm not trying, but,
Well,
but at the end of the
laughing,
day,
but
you
it's
know,
not-
like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of factors, you know, and because the questions are what happens if there is an accident.
That's
How do you handle that? Like, you know, and they have a very large responsibility.
I know they do.
Yeah.
No way
Well,
around it.
even some of those, you know, you do have to be on the ball, because the other day I was driving down 32 and it was, you know, a single lane. And the guy with the stop and slow sign, he did not turn it. And then he starts motioning to us to go.
Yeah.
And we're, you know, people try to point out, right, these cars that are.
So the new signs we have say, stop, stop, and they flash. You know,
Yeah, then you
but
turn around
again-
and says, stop, stop.
But at the end of the day, if someone's looking down on their phone, they're pulling up, and then you see it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's driver behavior and just the way it is. So we handle plenty of those crashes in years.
Do you hire that where there's somebody would have to do morning and the afternoon, or do you hire just like if they
Oh.
want to do the morning?
Or piece, you know, and
No.
we have the girl down here, the Smith lady, goes from here to Edson. I mean, that we, it's like, it's a jigsaw puzzle sometimes just to try to get corners covered. The other day, yesterday, election day, Kingsley Catholic was open. But the rest of the schools weren't, so she was down there, but then she was going, you know, so we're using, and we use them. And also another thing that we do utilize them for some parades, as a fixed gap for
Mhm.
when we can't get other officers there. It's just a little bit different because it does create just a little bit of issues because of, people that are trying to stop traffic and they get really harassed.
I'm sure they
And
do.
it's tough. So we try to make sure that we put them in locations that they're not gonna feel the pressure of doing that, but we also utilize them for that, and that's, you know, that's another reason for a little bit of an increase.
All right, so is there anything else about that?
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into this, but
Too late.
There.
We're there.
are there actual qualifications?
No, you're hired.
Yeah.
I would love to have you, Steve, on retirement.
Yeah, he's retiring.
Yeah.
That's not what I was going.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to make it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you hold the sign, if not, we'll have to stick to it.
All right.
Really, for a while, we struggled, like really struggled. And we were, you know, it came to the realization, like our dispatchers, we had to offer more money to bring people in.
Right.
That seemed to work. We have a good cadre. I mean, right now, it's really one of the only intersections that we have problems with.
Right.
You know, so, and our sergeant is good, but when there's a problem, I'll call him up and ask him, and he just shrugs his shoulders, "Listen, boss, we're doing what we can, give me 5 more," you know, like,
Right.
Yeah.
that's the
And
thing.
we fired some people with some limitations, and in doing so, and that's another thing we also pay. And I believe that comes out of this account as well, is we also have to make sure that when they get fingerprints done, that's one of the things about hiring these folks.
Right.
We're
right,
paying
right.
$100. Now, I understand it's $100 and it goes into the budget, but these folks, if you're making $20 an hour and you're only working
Yeah.
those hours, it's very difficult for us to take that, you know, and do not just to take that. So we pay for them to do that, but that's also part of that. We don't want to pay for 5 people at $500 to get fingerprinted to have them in the queue to have a backup. We'd rather try to send an officer when we can.
I get it.
That's kind of-
What about people with physical disabilities?
Yeah, they can certainly apply, absolutely.
You don't have anybody on staff now.
Not currently.
Not real, I mean, limitations, but not
Yeah.
necessarily disabilities. It's like kind of like.
Yeah.
No, it's not a wheelchair.
So on a different topic then, are you all going to be very much involved with the speed cameras when they go in? Because that's going to be a separate system, like that will record anybody who's speeding, that'll all go there. But will you be involved at all in providing some of the warning tickets perhaps? 'Cause-
Yeah, I mean, we have a traffic safety unit, we can certainly assign for that initial program. I know that one of the requirements, if it hasn't changed or hasn't been allowed to be changed, is, that an officer, sworn officer has to photograph to determine whether or not it's a valid violation.
Okay.
So, we still haven't worked out logistics on how that's gonna happen at RPD. But, I know that you had said it in a couple of those meetings, and one of the things was, well, you're gonna have to have a cop look at this stuff. Right now, looking at the midnight shift, because the call times are a little bit lower during certain hours, so we're hoping people will do it that way. But, it's just another thing we have to get done.
Mhm. But you don't envision that requiring extra hours per se?
No, initially when they first turn out, I know there's a big announcement, I think don't hold me to it, I believe there's like 30 days where they issue warnings and so on, and, make people aware, but at the end of the day, here's the thing. This traffic safety room has been in since January.
Mhm.
I still can't believe how many people are speeding and they're right, I'm like, oh, these officers are gonna break themselves out of a job. Right, when you start, I say, yeah,
No.
I see us get into a battle August and then we're done, like, we're about, it's unbelievable.
I could have you in Ward 9 every
Yeah.
day, like I.
And everyone says that.
They are.
No, you gotta go to work.
Like this life for later, but you can all have it.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah.
We're seeing the same thing with parking, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
authorize more overtime for parking, and it's every month, it's the same, like, people aren't learning. And we
We're
thought,
actually
you know,
getting
when,
into the parking ticket business now, like, we're ordering one of those new, ticket writing things like,
Scanner.
and it's passed, so that we can also write after hours, times that they're not working. Right, when an officer comes across them, and, because there's a high number of violations.
I know, I got complaints about stuff at night and, parking.
And that's better for accountability purposes.
Yeah.
That's the reason that we're purchasing that equipment is so that they can go directly to the parking department. So there's not a
Great.
lag in getting those parking things. So that's one of the things that we can supplement parking division by doing, and the chief, is.
Yeah, we have radar units in 3 patrol cars, 2 for the traffic safety, 1, because we've had officers say, listen, if I had a radar detector in my car, I'd boast. We do. We put out the signs. We have 2 right now, but we're gonna be going to 5. 2 dedicated signs assigned just to the traffic safety unit that can be mounted quickly on a pole in problem areas.
Oh.
Like
And
Cedar Street. I'm just saying, like Cedar Street,
Yeah, and there's a couple of places that, so I know that like DPW has 5.
Yes.
Essentially to show the speed and.
Right,
record
right.
it.
and
That's
collect
right.
data.
Collecting, and so this one is more of a real time, so the officers have the app on their phone, they can put the sign up in the morning and look and go, man, we got a couple of people we gotta take care of, head over in that direction, so.
But
The technology is great, they have been there.
So they've been on, that's been on Lucas, we've had it on Lucas, we've had it on Fairview, we've had it.
Yeah, I know, in Emerson and Lafayette, and I think I just sent you, there's somebody who said, I have a double wide driveway, if the police want to sit there
Right, yeah.
and watch cars fly by, they're welcome to do that.
And here's the thing, we're not doing anything sneaky, they're not unmarked units, they're clean,
They're right there.
they're loud, they're marked, like,
And
we
still.
can't make it any more visible, like, we're
I know.
not hiding behind the bushes or in the radar gun, like.
Is it the same with other violations too, stop sign, because that's another one I hear a lot,
Oh,
is
yeah.
rolling through stop
Absolutely.
signs, is that, so same thing, but they're stopping, your officers are stopping
Yes.
for those kind of violations
Yep.
too, and it's not getting, those aren't even getting better either.
No, it's unbelievable.
Do you find that they are the locals, or do you find? them
So we're tracking
out of
it.
town?
So on average, right now,
Yes.
on average, 50%. 50% of the people stopped are Kingston, city of Kingston residents.
Oh, yeah.
About 50%. Sometimes it's 40 during the day. And when our traffic safety officers make sure that they mark down the address signs, part of the ticketing, but yeah, we're updating their computer system to make it a little bit more efficient so that they're not at the stop as long, right? At the end of the day, there's an inconvenience factor when you pull somebody over, right? I know people say, well, then they shouldn't be speeding. I get all that, but at the end of the day, the way we look at it is if they're making a traffic stop in 6 to 7 minutes, again, keeping the environment in place, and we can cut that time down to 3 to 4 minutes, that'll allow them more time to handle other violations. But I am completely shocked. I've said it over the course of this entire 3 months. I can't believe that we're still writing this number of tickets.
And they also, the traffic safety unit handles, the majority of our motor vehicle accidents, which has, also increased the enforcement of violations due to those traffic
Right.
crashes. And having the consistency of having those officers handle those has shown success in making sure that people are held accountable if they are violating the law when those accidents happen. So that's been really good for us as well.
The officers there, they've contacted Corporation Counsel when there's questions about the legality of certain things. And, whether it's a cyclist involved in a crash and it turns out to be their fault, right? They didn't obey the laws, or a pedestrian that steps out when they, all this stuff plays a part. Motor scooters, glass 3 Cs, all this stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot of factors involved in all this stuff. And then some of it's difficult. This is great.
Are you seeing in your perspective more crashes?
Less.
Fine, because it just seems like every day I turn on my computer and the Freeman notifications are like a crash here, a crash there. I mean, not just City of Kingston, but you said there's less?
Yeah, so, we get there's many stats that we do that. As the chief just said, our traffic safety unit gives us weekly and monthly reports with the addresses, if it's local people, so that we can track to see if it's the same people, as the chief had said. And also, when it comes to traffic accidents, a lot of times you're seeing more of that now. As I've taken over for deputy chief, I'm answering the Freeman more often as far as our traffic accidents. So I think that's why you're seeing more press releases for that. And it's only because, the chief wants to get out front and making sure that we're getting that information to the Freeman, which also cuts down on our FOIL requests, which is another reason we're being more punctual with answering all of those, which are a lot, because any accident, and another thing that is seen recently is that when our records management system changed, it's showing on our blotter that a lot of them are reported as personal injury automobile accidents. So we get many requests for those personal injury automobile accidents from the folks that are advocating for safety driving and pedestrians. So when we see that request, I'm trying to fulfill that by answering the media so that we don't have as many FOIL requests. So I'm trying to get that information out. So now you're seeing more press releases.
Well, I'm really happy to hear, I mean, that it's more transparent, but also that's the reason I'm seeing more, not that they're actually.
So, so when we get our gives, so we sit in on a monthly, it's basically a comp stat. We're doing all of our stats. Every month we analyze what's going on, where our crime is, what all those things. And when we do that, when we have those traffic accidents, we were almost on, our traffic tickets used to be around 100 to 120 a month. And then it was weird. It was almost like the accidents were about the same. They were about 100 or just a little bit less. There were quite a few. Obviously, in the winter, sometimes we can have 30 accidents in a day. So it kind of skews the numbers a little bit. But as we did that and we put all that information out there, now we're seeing that it's going probably a 30% drop. They're down into those 70s. We're doing a lot better now than we were in the past. And I think it's probably a result of our traffic enforcement.
I think also like the lowering the speed limit, because there is all this data, like I was just on a panel about it and other communities have seen their crashes decrease. So that is what's supposed to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Because people are
If
going
they're following
slower,
along,
right? And they're going slower, they have a
Which we know
wider
now
range
the
of
time.
vision.
Yes.
So we just reduce our speed limit to 0.
Yeah, then everybody's safe, doesn't it?
I also have another question on the electric scooters and how, because I've been hearing that it complaints on like the rail trails and speeding on that, because I believe the speed limit is 15, correct, on the rail trail?
I don't know the answer to that.
Or do we not have this?
I don't think there's a speed limit.
I think it's like speed light posted, what is the left, right, it's by light, like,
Yeah, I don't think
yes,
there's a
the
speed limit
class
goes
of
down
light.
there.
That's
right. Certain
Not
bikes,
on the road, the roads, the streets.
Oh, no, there's no speed limit.
so the bike, normally, again, speed limit is limited by the city, like 25 miles an hour.
But an electric scooter shouldn't be going 25 miles per hour.
I'm
I'm saying they are doing it, but I'm saying I don't think that they should.
No, they should not. And there's no requirement to have a helmet on.
Yeah, I know.
I know,
Yeah,
they're
so-
very dangerous.
I know,
It isn't big. We
my sister
try.
works in the ER, so I know.
There are a lot of them. We are sending and we're being proactive with our traffic safety guys, making sure that they are getting all the training. So we're sending, this is going around the whole state now. It's not just the Kings Station.
Yeah.
It's probably around the whole country, but and I'm just talking about our state. We're investing in our people to make sure that they're getting the training to be up to date on all of those things. And that's why we have all those phrases like the LSVs. When I had the conversation with Sarah, she's like, oh my gosh, there's a golf cart on my road and they're driving down the road. And I'm like, yes, they have a license plate and it's a low speed vehicle. They actually can operate on our roads legally. And I'm like, no, but this is what it is. And she looked it up. I actually I think I brought the paperwork to make sure that she saw, because there are some changes and there are changes that we have to adapt to as well. So we're trying to make sure that our officers are getting the training that needed to make sure that we're enforcing the law correctly. And like the chief mentioned, we're super fortunate to be able to have the cameras at these intersections because they help with our investigations on who's at fault, because there's always contention of who's at fault with these vehicles versus bicycles, scooters, and pedestrians. On who is, are people just crossing randomly? Are they doing whatever? Or they're just driving down the road haphazardly with no regard for anyone else on the road. And you see that more often than you do the operators being at fault, but there are people that don't pay attention, and we do have those. And now we are issuing the tickets, and we're making sure that people are held responsible for their actions if they're acting in. So.
Are you seeing any, do you check the class of the bikes, the electric bikes?
We do.
We can't have class 3, but so are we able to do
some are difficult because of the conditions of the bikes, but the newer ones are relatively easy. And that's why, again, we're sending those traffic safety guys, because you and I will look at these and some of them are easy, right? They just have on there, they'll have a crankcase or some other part of the mechanism to show which class they are. But there's many that are modified, and those modifications, there's things that like Mad Max type things, like, there's, there's motorcycles with like tailpipes on them. Like, what CCs are these things? Like, it's a 50 CC, but it looks like a, no offense, but like a Honda with like a big tailpipe sticking out. And it's like, what does that do? Just loud, right? It doesn't make it go any faster, but they do modify those and they take everything off. So now our officers often get into discussions with motorists who don't believe that they should have to follow the rules of the law. Some, I guess, citizens understanding. Yeah, I'm not driving my, like, I'm a traveler, so I don't have to follow the laws, and we have a lot of that, or a lot more than we've seen in the past, and it's a difficult thing, especially when it gets into a scooter, where our officer's standing there like, yeah, but you still can't drive on the road with no license, like in the lane of travel, and driving a motorcycle. And then we get into, and that's the things that we're sending these guys to make sure they're getting trained. That's the most, but make sure they get trained.
The state should just ban them. Like, they were only allowed in New York City, the class 3, and now New York City is like limiting how fast they're allowed to kind of.
It's still a tough enforce because people still operate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's tough to enforce.
Yeah, the ATVs, there's things, and then it's always the risk of engaging and trying to stop those vehicles that create an inherent risk for other people that are involved. And we have to make sure, and there's a lot of frustration from your constituents, us and saying, why are you not stopping these guys on their bikes, on these 4-wheelers and stuff? Well, our officers try to stop them, but immediately we say, don't chase them, right? That's that, that was not that, but I'm just saying, like, that's the verbiage. That's not the verbiage we would say. That's what we would say.
That's what we say.
We said, disengage, like, there's no reason for you to chase them. But what happens is when we do that, the people feel like they're emboldened to just go and do it again. And I know that we try to do the best we can with it, but it's difficult.
Did the fine help at all? Because we raised that number.
If you catch them.
We catch them, it helps. And, any of this helps. Like, if they're on the sidewalk, try to track them down. Right? We do have the camera systems that we're able to do investigation on. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're not going to put somebody's life, including theirs, at risk when we turn the lights and sirens on. They go, traffic. And we're just not doing it. So we try to track them down, go to the house, knock on the door. Worst case scenario, we can't identify the driver because maybe they didn't have a helmet or mask on, but we take the speed.
Yeah, we do inconvenience that way. If we know that they violated the law, if that bike or something is outside, we'll then seize it and then make them show proof that they have anything because there's no registration.
It's individual behavior. There's people that turn the lights on, they stop immediately. There's no problem. And there's others that, you know, they don't, and I'm risk versus reward. Let me see if I can get away with it. What's the worst thing gonna happen? So.
So, the capital request, you've got, two items, one electric patrol vehicle. And we'd like to have both of that. And have you gotten the delivery of all the previous vehicles that we have?
Yes, so, we have 8 of the Equinox, all EV vehicles. Some of them are in service. The last one's being rolled out with the, light packs, light siren application.
And so that's the same,
No, this is a patrol car.
must be different.
Yeah, the money that was given to us for the EVs, that was last year and transferred again into 25. That was dedicated for the detectors and pensions.
Okay.
That's what it was. We're trying to get rid of all the gas models. So we currently run a mixed fleet. There's a limited number of EVs in the patrol, one of them being the traffic safety car. The other one is the supervisor vehicle. Then we have all gas vehicles, the Dodges that we had, and the rest of them are Ford hybrids that are full. So we're trying to move to all EV. We do have currently 4 charger sets installed, 2 in patrol, 2 upstairs, one that the SRO uses to charge their car. So we're slowly moving over to an all EV fleet. That's why when you look at the electric budget line and fuel, you'll see the difference. We're moving money over because we're seeing a reduction in fuel usage, gas usage, and an increase in electrical usage down.
And you're not seeing any appreciable difference in performance between the gas powered ones and the electric ones?
So, no, there really isn't a big difference. When you're in the car, you really can't tell. One of the things we did see was installation, equipment and installation. We ran into manufacturers going, we don't know what to do here, right? So he smiled at me because, and I don't want to make a long story, but I'll give you the short version. He comes to me, he says, hey, we got a problem installing these dash cams in cars. Now, and it's one of the lines that you'll see here, I think it's 471 is being increased due to an increase in the contractual cost of Axon, which takes care of our taser, our safety, our officer safety program, our body cameras, and our dash cams, our fleet cameras. One of the things that he came to me and said, hey, you got a problem. Fleet cameras aren't even going to be installed in these EVs. And I go, what do you need? How is that possible? And, you know, he kind of, I can't even look at it because he's going to make me laugh, but I said to him, so you're telling me, Kingston, that when I'm rolling out a car that was built for us, right? This is one of the top 3 car manufacturers, Chevy and Exxon, the number 1, like number 2, a close second, the number 1. He's laughing because this is what I do. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is occurring in Kingston. So we had the Exxon rep come down. We had the Chevy guy come down. We had the emergency brake
We
guy.
had the people from across the country that install these across the country, and the guy's looking at me, I'm like, yeah, this is the next car you're gonna put the camera in. He's like, yeah, we put them in there. And I'm like, huh? I said, well, no, this camera we need in that car for new. This is the police car that we got, right? And I'm like, yeah, we don't do the EVs, they're just all different beasts.
Oh, no.
Long story short.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, we were able to call Chevy and provide an engineer. They said, I can't believe it took place here, right? Like I joke about like Kingston being, but it happened and they were like, oh yeah, this blue wire with the orange stripe, that's the 12-volt non-pulsed wire that we put aside. You gotta tap into that, otherwise it'll the camera. Because at one point, someone would activate the camera, would activate.
Everybody's
body camera turned on.
We
I'm trying to laugh about it. I mean, not everybody in the city, just at headquarters.
We had some technical difficulties for a while. We're like, what? The car just drove by and turned everybody staring because our cars, when you activate the lights or sirens on your cars, our body worn cameras activate automatically. So these things that were sending a pulse because of the electric car, so it was tripping this module, or whatever, which then turned out, so there'd be people talking to each other inside headquarters. And every camera would go on inside. It was just, there's some technical.
It was, we can laugh about it now. So that was the one thing. It wasn't really the use of the vehicles. The operation really hasn't changed. You know, listen, it's a reverse drive, consoles, but it was the equipment. Even now, where there's a slight struggle going on, the tech grant, we were able to update our in-car computer systems. We're getting away from a laptop, a semi-rugged laptop, into a tablet series with a separate keyboard. Right? with hope that at some point the tablet can be removed
Mhm.
and taken to the scene to take pictures, scan, photograph, whatever it might be, and in addition, complete the forms. The state is moving towards an all electronic incident report. We want the officers to be able to hand that right there, leave it to the victim, sign off, have the printer back in the car. So we're trying to move into that direction of the technology, but come to find out there has been some mounting challenges. And we're like, okay, well, we need to put this tablet in that car. And they're like, huh? They scratch their head, they're like, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Right? Lots of.
It does seem like we have a lot.
So we're getting it done now. We're finally figured it all out. But you would think, we kind of joked about, listen, it's not like pulling a loaf of bread off the store shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it'd be, right? Give me that Chevy with that Axon system, and that's not really how it works out. So, and the other challenge about it is, is with the gas models, including the hybrids, they're 4 to 6 minutes at the pump.
Mm.
Boom, 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 boom. If in the middle of pumping, they get a call, they pull the hose and they drive off, right? With the electrics, it's not the case, So one of the things is we can't just pull up charge for 5 or 6 minutes, right? The Blazers, the larger capacity vehicles, even with the high level 2+ chargers we have, are taking about 5 hours per vehicle to go from 1% to about 80%. And now that increases quite a bit of mileage, don't get me wrong. So you're going from about, 30, 25 miles, what's left at about a 20% charge, to about 200, 230 miles on an 80% charge. So it's an increase, and it'll get us through a couple of shifts. And we do see on the Blazers, I haven't heard this complaint about the Equinox, but cold weather affects it because it's parked. Yeah. So officers have found that when they park the vehicle, leave, come back to it, overnight, temperatures drop, you'll see a significant drop in the voltage.
You get about half-life.
So I know when there were gas vehicles, they would be kept running because of the equipment. So what about when it's an EV?
Well, it burns better.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you
there's
can't
no-
leave them running.
No, you can,
They're not running.
they're not running,
Yeah,
it's just,
right,
but
okay.
it's still active.
Right.
So that is the nice thing about electric, that's one of the things that we were so encouraged about with the hybrid cars, is that the vehicle doesn't necessarily run, it'll start to charge it back up, but when they're idling, they're not actually idling, so we're not getting the fumes, but we're getting, the car's still running. But that was one of those things that we talked about, one of those things that we didn't recognize with the cameras originally, because what was happening is the power was being disconnected. So we had to redo them again to make sure that it was wired to another thing with it. And this is things that the chief is frustrated about, just because we do our homework before we get these cars, and we get the cars and we're expecting them to work the way that we ordered them. And there are some things, there's some shortcomings with the technology. There's so much technology in these vehicles now. It's not just one thing,
I mean,
right?
these are first-gen cars.
Yeah, these
right?
are
Like,
first-gen
to be honest
cars.
with you,
We're getting a lot
and
of-
the Equinoxes, which are unbelievably appreciated by the detectives,
Mm-hmm.
are not police vehicles per se, right? We didn't go out and buy, these aren't $85,000 or $80,000 vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
They're not pursuit rated, they're not designed to be. These are really more of an administrative function vehicle, right? We gave them lights and sirens to be able to get to a call, but they're not primary pursuit or response vehicles. But the challenge there is we're asking them to put emergency equipment and radios in a car that's not really designed to have anything but an AM, FM, CD, whatever it might be that's, yeah, Apple Play, that's it.
AM, FM.
I know, I'm dating myself, right? So.
So then line for the maintenance of the vehicles, it seems like the maintenance is gone down, so do they require less maintenance?
They do. So one of the things yes, so the short answer is yes. The EVs require less maintenance because there's no really moving parts, right? There's 4 electric motors. There's 3 fluid bays, right? The radiator fluid, the coolant, it's got to keep everything cool, the brake fluid, and then the windshield washer fluid. So that's really it. Are there maintenance? Yeah. What we found is that there is an increase in the tire weight. The vehicles are substantially heavier, so that it's one thing that was mentioned to us. So we've been tracking it. We're like, boy, those tires aren't really lasting.
They're about 2,500 pounds more a piece.
Yeah, they're heavier vehicles. Yeah, so we're going, and the fact that right now, the majority of them are under warranty. we've had some, they auto update over the air or the OTA type stuff, but you'll get in like, oh, there's an update. Boop, they'll hit the update and then something glitches and the car's like, well, now what? Right? And
Can I
we
get a
got,
call? And
Oh, not a call, this is,
and then they tow the car to the dealer and the dealer fixes it. You know, they have to do a manual hardwire reset, but you know, there's been challenges where we've kind of gotten away from that. We're lucky we're into, you know, a couple of thousand miles on these vehicles now, so, but they're first gen cars.
how far is this due?
It's
They have to-
20
no.
Oh,
it's warranty.
okay.
Go ahead, Terrell, I have one more question after you.
Yeah, okay, so line 471 service contracts went from 438 in 2025 to 508 requested.
Yes,
And that's what you were just talking about.
that's the Exxon.
That's the Exxon,
Yeah.
okay. And the equipment rental?
Yeah, so that's normally our radio system. So we've had an increased number of radios, and just about screen, so that's updated that lease as well. So our radio systems are leased through Conco, they're the company we use. And Axon, it's a 5-year contract that restarts, now it restarts, right, mid 2025. So for 5 years. We let it lease.
It's like a lease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the advantage, so there's an advantage to Conco. They'll update the equipment when necessary. You don't have to worry about, one thing that we found, when we tried buying the radio systems, the batteries. We just not, so here, battery goes bad, put it into the battery bin, Conco comes, drops off new batteries, and we're good. Any updates? Axon, the same thing. They have a 60-month program designed for the officer safety program, but at the 30-month mark, halfway through, that's when they start to update, right? The technology changes all the time. You know, they introduce the iPhone 16 now, the 17, 18, whatever it is out there, and they're doing the same thing with the camera systems. And I can tell you firsthand, one of the things that we have with the Axon is the ability to use virtual or VR training for these officers on recertifications, and it is hands down unbelievable. If you've had the opportunity to look like Oculus.
Right.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
You put the helmet on, everything, your hands, like you're in it. And the next gen is going to be tying in a number of officers to go through it, and it's.
And what that does is it allows other trainings, with all the tools on our belts to be able to utilize all of them. And this VR actually has the capability of, it's in front of you. Like with the tool that you bring out, whether it's your firearm or your taser or your stick or your pepper spray, and all of these things, it's really incredible. And putting, you know, it's a big advantage for to have that time and have a space this big.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can have a training on a complete scenario as long as you have this room figured out, which is incredible.
Son does gaming.
And I don't, it's scary. Let me tell you, I put these things on, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm done, thank you.
So I just have to ask you a basic question at the very beginning, which is, it looks like all positions in the department are filled.
Yeah.
And are you at a good number in terms of employees in the department?
Yes, we are at, yeah, so we're getting done what we need to get done. You hear this, the questions posed every year, if you give me more, I can do more, right? That's what we get. But, with the officers that we have, we're manning the contract. We are making some changes, to staffing. Again, every couple of years, usually it's every year, but every couple of years, we examine, are we deploying the resources in the right places, right? Are we responding to the calls in the most efficient manner, right? All those things that we look at to see, are we serving the city best with the resources that we have? Well, it turns out that we sat with our crime analysts, we looked at the numbers, we did some administrative studies, and it would be better, we started to shift some manning, some staffing to the day and 12 shift. That is the higher call volume shifts. So allowing officers to run solo calls on the midnight shift and to increase the staffing requirements on the other two shifts. You know, there's no, listen, it's not rocket science. You're gonna have to, looking at the stats to say, in the city of Kingston, traffic is the greatest during the day and at night, right?
Right.
If you come out here at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's almost no one driving around, right? It's pretty quiet. So, but you gotta be ready when it happens.
Yeah.
And so, but what's more important, to have an extra officer on 412s than midnights? And the answer is yes. So we're moving stuff around. We talked to the union, talked to the police commission, they've accepted our proposal effective January. We're gonna meet those moves on the staffing. And I think it's gonna be a better result overall. And again, at the end of the day, one focus that we have is always going to be remain a community-focused agency. When, enforcement is a part of the game, it really is, even when we did traffic safety. We didn't want to issue the tickets, we try to give warnings, right? But the truth is, some of the council members have said, okay, that's enough warning.
Yeah.
Right, early, that's enough warning, write the tickets, they've had it.
That's right.
Let's go. Right, and,
That's right.
even that, we joke, and you may have heard me say this over the last few years, but by other agencies, Kingston Police can be referred to as the advisory police. We prefer not to have to go that far, like, listen, just move on, right? Like, cause the ruckus, go down the street, go home, right? Like, come on, what are you doing? Right? But if they decide no, then okay, then we make the arrest, right? It's not that we don't want to do it, but.
Right.
So, but if taxes were not an issue, you would still be comfortable with where you are in terms of the personnel you have now?
Yeah, we are able to handle the detective cases. We've had a reduction in the number of detectives that we have. We are doing things differently in the narcotics / special investigations realm, because in the past, we've had 4 people assigned, 4 officers, detectives assigned to special investigations. We've had a change, and it's because the work has changed as well. Right? There's no doubt that today, with the advent of technology left in the hands of the law enforcement and the non-law enforcement, they can do things that we haven't been able to do before. When I came on, open air drug buys was a thing, right? You pull up, somebody stand on the corner, that's not happening anymore. We're just not dealing with that. So we've got to work, and the requirements for prosecution have also changed how cases are developed and prosecuted, how we deliver the case to the DA's office. There has to be more than just a single officer's word. Hey, listen, we sold drugs, you're under arrest. That doesn't happen. There's got to be technology involved. So we have camera systems, surveillance, audio, all that stuff. So, it's a little bit more work at the end of the day. And not to mention the fact that because the majority of the population, 99.9, has a device like this in their hands, it's recording everything, their data, right? So if someone says, I'm not going to unlock my phone for you, right? No problem. We get a search warrant, we'll get it, send it to the lab. They'll handwrite this thing until it unlocks, and returns on these search warrants are volumes of information on these phones, just on the phones. Never mind your car, never mind your house Wi-Fi, never mind your camera systems, just the phones. Everything, location, like it is unreal what this thing is recording. And it's not just, Google, Apple, like it's unreal. That one of the things that we do was send our detectives to the technology updates. And the technology is in every piece of everything that occurs. It happened 4 months ago, 3 months ago. We get a call, what's that thing on the sign? Right? You said, and you end up calling, it's a traffic monitor or
And we
something.
got some calls about the suspicious things on the poles. So I'm the one that followed up with that, but it was through the National Traffic Safety.
Yeah, but even that.
But it was kind of weird. We're like, this thing's outside our building. We don't know.
One thing we subscribe to that we use is, and it's a traffic safety device, is the information gathered by cell phone users, not individual. No one's cell phone is given. But when you're driving up the freeway and it says, hey, there's an accident ahead, or there's the police there, are they still there? Yes, no, thank you for being part,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it pops up, right?
It's like waves on the city.
Yeah, right, so it's using the person's technology and all the connections, not to individually identify, but to say, hey, had 50 cars go through this intersection at 50 miles an hour, you may have a traffic problem here. And they'll say, go in that direction. Sure enough, we'll put up our sign, validate it through our own needs, say, yeah, we got a problem, we got to address it.
And so, I know you can't predict the future per se, but are you facing any number of requirements? It looked like just in terms of the number of years that people serve, that sort of thing?
So that's always the challenge, is the replacement. So we do have a couple of retirements potentially in 2026.
Okay,
Right now, it looks like about 3. It could be 4, but right now there's 3 people that have, indicated, hey, I might go, right? Which is what, it's the right thing. We tell them that, listen, we're not committed. You don't have to hold it, but if you're thinking about it, let us know, we'll start planning. One of the things we have struggled with is the recruitment, and not just the recruitment on, hey, you want to be a cop? Kingston, do you want to be a cop? Like, deputy chief will go to the academy, and there's a bunch of people going through the program and say, hey, if you're already employed, take the test for Kingston. We just had one in September, looking at those results coming up. The background's a little bit more stringent. We do require polygraphs and medical testing. We do, I think, consider a very thorough background. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of responsibility in giving that person, handgun the decision-making capability. We want to pick the right person, and we want them to be community focused, right? So the interview questions we ask aren't about, can you do the job? Can you chase somebody down? We're not looking for that. What we're looking for is, if someone needs help, can you, whatever that means, are they in crisis? Can you determine that? Can you work with them on mental health, right? That's one of the questions you ask every interview. Do you know much about mobile mental health? Do you have people, and do you have family members that may have used those services in the past? Those are the things that are important to us. Because at the end of the day, I know things have happened before in the past few years where, like, we don't want the cop at the scene. We shouldn't have a uniform patrol with a gun on the side. But we're still getting called to these things. We're still getting called. Because when they get there and the person is out of control, they're not in a position or comfortable enough to use physical force where we may be. All right. So even if we're called and we just kind of stand out of the view and just go, just let us know what you want, right? Like, if we're just here and it makes them feel more comfortable, no problem. But we recognize that the uniform, the badge, all this stuff may trigger something.
So you're not going out automatically for each call anymore? Because I feel like that was how, right, if I remember correctly, that was kind of happening in the beginning.
No, actually, we tried not, right?
I thought
We tried
it was,
not to.
though.
Well,
Tried to do it, and to not, so you're saying to not go?
Yeah, I
Tried
felt
not
like
to
it
go?
was, we
don't
set it up that we didn't want
Right,
correct.
that to be, you guys to be responding and just have mobile, but it
Yeah.
then felt like for a while, it was automatically happening.
well.
Not by
It
our-
wasn't by ours, it wasn't by our call,
No.
and in fact, it was kind of frowned upon that if there were a call, you just kind of stand away and do it, but can't even transfer to say 98% of the calls that these folks are going to, like mobile mental health or the fire department, we get called anyway. There's a couple percent maybe that we don't, and they know who they are because they're repeat patients, or not customers, but repeat patients that where they're going there, and they say, I know this person is, they know that they've dealt with them in the past, and it's not, we can go deal with them and it's fine. But it's very, very rare that they don't call us. And it's not because we're trying to go. It's because we're requested to go. We're not going to tell them no. We can't tell them no. It's got to forbid something happens. We can tell them no. We're
No, I know,
not.
but yeah, of course.
So, and it's mostly the mental health workers.
We encourage the officers, repeatedly. We even have to
Call them.
both at the supervising level and the ground level patrol officers, call mobile mental health.
Mhm.
If a person, you're not trained well enough to determine the level of crisis this person is going through, call mobile mental health. And sometimes we come upon it. But, well, you're right. There's the majority of the calls, there's a lot of requests for an officer just to stay there, right? Just to stay right there.
So what about like how many calls are coming in when we don't have our team Monday through Friday, 9 to 5?
Well, I don't have. the numbers for that.
Like, is it?
I think the current system, I think they do more than that. Right? Isn't it you're talking about
Our
the ones,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think the hours have expanded on that.
680, I think,
Yeah,
is
680.
more. It was 680 is the normal one, the health one, but I believe they tried to extend the hours.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but to be quite honest, most of our mental health calls are during the day. They really are. I mean, a lot of times we're waiting because they come on at 10 o'clock. And we're like patiently trying to like slow down to go to these calls so that mobile mental health is already there. Because if we have to go outside of our 680, it's an extended wait time on getting someone to us. It's like 45, 50 minutes sometimes.
Right.
So you're standing there with someone, you're trying not to interact, trying not to engage to the point where they get upset. So the officers are literally standing there like, all right, well, hopefully this is, it's not to say it, like, it's an awkward moment, right? But it's not because our officers, we do have officers that are trained. We do send our officers to CIT. We are investing in that as well. And that's one of the things that we're pushing, like right now, as we look, one of my responsibilities is the operations part of it and saying, hey, and talking to our training guy, hey, what schools are coming up from DCGS because they're paid for by the state, so we don't have to pay for them to actually go. We pay for their lodging if it's out of the area. But we really try to look for regional training so that it doesn't cost the city or cost anybody money. So we look at our regional trainings on the DCJS calendar and trying to get as many officers through that CIT training because it is super important. And you know,
Is that the normal?
yes, that is. It is actually talked about this. The travel costs. Oh, yes, because a lot of these classes, one of the, we are fortunate enough to have a Oriskany as a training center, which is the State Preparedness Center, which is up by Utica. And in doing so, there is lodging there that we do have to pay for, but all the trainings are free. But you still can't drive back and forth. It's 2.5 hours. So you can't expect an officer to, or we're gonna pay them overtime, so
Right.
it's much easier.
Tara?
Yeah, on the revenue side, you have, employed line, what is it, 3120, line 2,000. Employee 10% revenue, I'm sorry, employees 10% medical insurance, 158,000 up to 185,000. Because I understand it's a revenue cost, but can you explain the revenue source? But can you explain to me what that is? Is that some partial payment of the insurance? That the,
So when you're looking at 3122, or 42,000, right? 10%.
no, I'm
Correct.
looking at 2,000, line 2,000, under 3120.
Yeah.
Employees' medical insurance.
10% medical insurance as a revenue line.
Yeah.
185.
Mhm.
Yeah, so contractually,
So what is that?
officers are obligated to pay a certain amount
Right,
back.
right.
That's what that is.
So this is the 10% of their insurance costs in general.
Yes.
Okay, just wondering if this first time I'm seeing that, is that usual in other?
I can't speak for the,
departments?
I can't speak for the contracts. But, as we pay into our health insurance,
Yeah, that's fine.
I believe all city employees.
Right, and so I'm just wondering if everybody's paying the 10% or more or higher, if there's something that we.
What would you like me to ask them?
If, in terms of employee contributions to their insurance, what's the floor and what's the max?
But does every department have that?
And
Sorry, just, I can't write as fast as you guys.
Sure.
So what is the floor and what's the ceiling? And Sarah, what was hers?
No, just as every department have the same requirement
Every union.
to contribute.
Certain employees, I understand, are under union. The other ones, what did you call them?
Management confidential.
Yes. Sure, confidential.
All right. Anything else then?
What do we use our opioid settlement funds for?
That's offset the overtime. I'm seeing on the rail trail, or calling in over. That is one of the grant opportunities that we have that offsets the overtime increases.
We've increased that.
Oh, it really is dedicated on the ground out of our approach. So.
And false alarm fines, are we like expecting more false alarms or are we
Yeah,
are increasing?
I think right now I think we underestimated the revenue from that line. And it varies, right? At the end of the day, if the technology on that side works, but where they're billed after 3 false alarms, it's expenditure of resources.
You find there's a annuity between people that have a lot of false alarms and you get speeding tickets?
I don't learn it less.
Oh, I have a question. Is the school district reimbursement, is that for the school resource officers?
Yes. They went up slightly just due to whatever the agreement is on the percent increase. It goes up on that.
Could you tell me about the Radio Kingston police? Someone's always said out there, I'm going to work at, Radio Kingston. So,
Yeah, so,
what's happening?
we've had a couple of incidents in that area, that have required relatively quick police response. One of the things that we've done is effectively look at the redistributing of the resources and putting an officer in that area. They don't necessarily have to deal with what's going on there, but they have to respond from that location. So our patrol map is broken up into different zones. When I came on it, and I think even when you came on it, uptown, midtown, and downtown. And now we have a little bit better. Now there's a zone 1, which is effectively uptown Kingston, zone 2 and 3, which is effectively broken down into midtown, and then zone 4, and then 5 along Broadway as the main corridor, and now 6, and just in that smaller area. And the reason being is our call volume is higher. The request for law enforcement is up there. It has dropped since we've been there. And we're not talking about a homeless issue. We're not talking about, people there has been a number of calls that have required a more speedy response. And in an effort to satisfy that requirement, we just assigned, all right, put it out there now.
I'm sure the businesses.
I was just gonna say that
Well,
we got called in front of other designers and they really want
Yeah,
people
diamonds are-
to be at least in there.
Yeah, we're not trying to be overbearing or anything like that. I know some people feel, but, I'll tell you, just a visible presence, whether it's capacity of an officer or a patrol car. I was driving up Broadway, going home, and I called him up. I said, listen, the car just went through these 4 parking spots under the underpass and made a turn onto Thomas Street, through the parking spots. I got the plate number, called him, he contacts traffic safety to track down the car and the driver, they issue the tickets. And so I said to him, this happened, park a patrol car right in that spot. Right, and it stopped.
It
stopped.
stopped. There was a car there for a while. I don't know if you noticed. It was like one of those, I hate to say dummy cars. But like, when you see one car on the side of the road. Well, it probably was. No, but, we told her that. Yeah, but no, so we did that in order to prevent people from driving in the bike lane.
Right.
It worked for a while, but of course, everybody gets smart to it.
Right.
But people then, there was a complaint, it's always funny because we get all the people that complain that they want us there. They're like, hey, then we have a problem here. We try to fix it. And they're like, well, we don't want the car parked there. Because that's the parking spot for the church. And I'm just saying, like, okay, we'll move it then. But that's kind of what we were doing. I know it's one spot, but we're really trying to prevent those pedestrian and bicycle accidents, really.
Yeah.
And the chief, just one thing, because I'm sorry to interrupt, sir, is just one of the things with that WKY park, it is a non-enforcement action, right? It's not made to be that we're out there making, just affecting arrests. That is not what that's there for. One of the things that we tried to do is utilize another resource that we did have for a short period of time was the sheriff's office coming in with 2 other officers to make sure that we were walking that entire corridor, to make sure that we're meeting business owners. We're meeting the residents that want to talk to us. We're trying to go out there and do something that's not unfortunate to get our faces out there, because I firmly, and the chief alongside with me, firmly believe in foot patrols. It's just not, and again, we go back to the basics of police work. It's not the cheapest way, right? You can only cover a certain amount of areas if you're on foot. That's why in New York City, when they have 2 people that are here, they can cover that 2 or 3 blocks. We don't have that luxury here. Our blocks are completely different, as you all know. So we have to make sure that we put those resources in the only places that we feel that we're getting calls, right? We're doing this, we're answering the call of the public. We're not doing it because we thought it's a good idea. And sometimes we try to do that, but we also go on based on what people are doing. So if they're calling for this, we try to put it there. But if we don't have the luxury of having 10 extra officers, like you said, I mean, we'd love to have 10 extra officers, we give it to them, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, Kingston Police was up to 80 cops. We had 80 police officers. We did a tremendous amount of proactive, tremendous amount. We just don't have that availability. We're answering our calls, we're trying to do what we can in response. We're getting pulled in a lot of different directions. The Linear Park Trail is a great trail for the city, but it requires police, right? Because if individuals aren't said, hey, let's move along, let's keep it going, it creates problems, and the business owners and the residents along the park will call us and say, they're loud, they're partying, they're hanging out, they're doing stuff they're not supposed to do, gotta move them around. So, it is a balance, obviously, but we're getting it done.
I saw a group of, sheriff, like, sheriff, walking up and down.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that?
That's what I was just saying. We actually asked them to provide some officers because there's always there's a gap, right? So we have during our SWAT changes or during our shift changes and really just having those other folks there that we were lucky enough to get 2 local people, right? And that's always we're fortunate enough the last hire that we had, Officer Dorsey is a Kingston girl who's here. It's nice to have those folks. We encourage the folks that are here to come and apply, and be police officers here. So we're fortunate enough to have those people. It's a big deal. I've talked to you many times about this, and it's now we're finally getting a little bit of that back. Officer Cordero is graduating the academy within the next month. We're bringing some folks in here that are going to be here, and that's so important to us, and being those community police officers that we've been looking for. So we're actually getting a little of that now, and I think that is a result. And just to be straightforward with you, as we're talking about a budget, is we're paying the officers to at least to the comparable rate that these other agencies around have been doing, and they're getting the officers. So now we're getting some of those officers by, making sure that making sure that they're getting paid, which is great. We're keeping people now, and we're losing people to retirement like we always have, but we're not losing people to a lot of lateral transfers. I mean, we did have some officers going to the state police, and we just lost another officer over to Putnam County. But it's part of the game. It's part of the job. But we've made some pretty big strides.
How are we doing with diversity?
Well, then
Spanish speaking.
it's as good as it gets. The last 2. I mean, Officer
Okay.
Cordero is a
Okay.
Puerto Rican male. Lanesha is an African American female. And our Spanish speaking. Even the good thing about what's happening now is the officers that we have working for us, even if they're not Spanish, they're seeing the need to speak Spanish. So they're
Right.
encouraging, and they're going and they're taking those online courses, and they're doing those things to try to encourage others to do it so that our communication is better, because it is difficult. But one thing that is difficult about Spanish speaking is that it's not just Spanish speaking.
Right,
it's
it's
the
all
dialect
translated.
as well.
Yeah.
And that is not easy. She is very difficult. So we're trying to get through some of those things. But one of the things that we do have going for us is we have an outstanding relationship with the Hispanic community, that with a lot of these events that we do work at, and we go and we're speaking to these folks, and we do have that opportunity to have some of those folks that are translating for us with Chi, and we've recently had some pretty significant time, but we spoke to those folks, and it was really great. So we've been definitely making some strides with that.
Good.
One of the things we're looking at, possibly going to adopt, it's a cost issue, but is the addition to our body cameras of Axon's newest feature, which is Translate.
It's
Yeah.
It's a real-time translation services. It's multi-language. It doesn't have to be identified. It's just, hey, how are you doing today? And if there's an issue with the language barrier identified by the officer, it automatically translates, identifies the language, and starts the translation.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Automatic. It's kind of like Google Translate, and it automatically takes place.
Earbuds, right?
Yeah, I was putting in that as well.
Yeah, so but again, this is something that we already have, and having an advantage to having that on your chest is incredible, because you do feel helpless sometimes, right? There's folks that, what you do, it's not just police calls. It could be, whether it's medical related or domestic, well, that's police, but, just having something that may not be right there, that opportunity to have a conversation with somebody that you normally couldn't have is just huge for us. And it makes those folks feel way more comfortable, right? They're not looking at us like you don't understand, and you can see the fear in some of these folks' eyes when the frustration from it, believing, because it's just as frustrating. We want to know what's going on, and it's so frustrating when we can't help the people that are called us. So, but we're working towards that.
Great, thank you.
Make a little strides.
You did make a version of this for married couples?
No. What if they did? I'm buying it. Wait, this is the recording live. Hey, we're
All right, I think that's everything, so, don't look at that.
It feels like 10:30.
And then,
All right.
as it's.
We'll call this meeting adjourned, so thanks for speaking.
Very good.
Lisa, thanks, Bob.
Warm up the dinner, honey.
Thank you for all.
Right.
Absolutely.
Bye.
And thank you for